that, in fact, some gods were feared and even hated. Ares, the god of war, was one such figure. His name alone sparked terror on the battlefield. But was he really just a bloodthirsty warrior? Or is there more to his story? Join me as we unravel the tale of Ares, the mighty and controversial Greek god of war. Ares, the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Hera, the queen, was a powerful figure in ancient Greek mythology. Unlike other gods who were celebrated for their wisdom or beauty, Ares embodied raw, brutal violence and chaos. He wasn't the strategic mind behind wars. That honor went to his half-sister Athena. Instead, Ares represented the sheer fury of battle, the bloodshed, the screams, and the relentless fighting. He stood for the violent, chaotic nature of war, unpredictable and dangerous. While other gods, like Athena, focused on the tactics and justifications for conflict, Ares gloried in the violence itself. His mere presence was said to ignite bloodlust, inspiring warriors to fight with reckless abandon. But, unlike Athena, Ares was not a god the Greeks admired. His role in mythology was controversial, and he wasn't held in the same regard as other Olympians. In Homer's Iliad, we get a glimpse of Ares' violent nature during the Trojan War. He fought on the side of the Trojans, causing chaos and destruction wherever he went. But despite his strength and brutality, Ares was often depicted as a cowardly figure who could be defeated and humiliated. In one famous episode, the goddess Athena strikes him down during battle, showing that war, driven purely by rage, is ultimately self-destructive. Ares also had a volatile relationship with the other gods. Even his own father, Zeus, was not fond of him, calling him the most hated of all his children. Unlike the heroes of Greek mythology, who often fought for noble causes, Ares represented war at its worst, bloodthirsty, cruel, and without reason. Ares wasn't alone on the battlefield. He was often accompanied by his sons Deimos, terror, and Phobos, fear, who personified the emotions that every soldier would face in the heat of battle. With these two by his side, Ares spread panic and dread among his enemies, ensuring that every fight was filled with chaos. Also by his side was Eris, the goddess of strife, whose name means discord. She thrived in the havoc of war, ensuring that conflict followed wherever Ares went. This sinister group made Ares not just a god of physical battle, but a master of the psychological torment that comes with war. Fear, terror, and strife were his weapons as much as any sword or spear. Despite his brutal nature, Ares had a passionate relationship with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Their affair became one of the most famous in Greek mythology. Even though Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship, she couldn't resist the allure of Ares. Their relationship symbolized the paradox of war and love, two primal forces that are often inseparable. However, their affair was far from romantic. In one story, Hephaestus, jealous of their relationship, crafted an unbreakable net and caught Ares and Aphrodite in the act. He invited all the gods to witness their humiliation. The gods laughed at the spectacle, but this didn't end Ares and Aphrodite's relationship. Their love affair continued, symbolizing the duality of love and war, opposing forces that often intertwine in mythology. One of the most fascinating aspects of Ares' character is his rivalry with his half-sister, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare. While Ares represented the chaotic and bloody aspects of battle, Athena symbolized strategic warfare, discipline, and the pursuit of victory for just causes. She was everything Ares was not: calculated, focused, and revered. In the Iliad, their conflict comes to a head when Athena supports the Greeks and Ares backs the Trojans. In a dramatic confrontation, Athena defeats Ares, once again demonstrating that brute force alone cannot win wars. This rivalry represents two sides of the same coin. War can be either destructive or strategic, chaotic or purposeful. While Ares may not have been beloved by the Greeks, he still had his followers. Soldiers and warriors who craved power and victory offered sacrifices to Ares before battle. His most notable cult site was in the city of Sparta, a society known for its militaristic values and admiration of war. For the Spartans, Ares represented everything they stood for: strength, discipline, and unrelenting power on the battlefield. Yet, even among his worshippers, Ares was a figure more feared than loved. His temples were few compared to other gods, and offerings were made as much to appease him as to win his favor. The ancient Greeks understood the destructive nature of war and prayed that Ares' wrath would be directed at their enemies, not at them. Ares' legacy as the god of war remains a powerful reminder of the dual nature of conflict. He represents the darker, more primal side of war, the part that revels in chaos, destruction, and fear. While Athena may have been the celebrated goddess of war, Ares' role in mythology serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked violence and aggression. Even today, Ares continues to inspire stories, films, and discussions about the nature of conflict. His presence in popular culture, from video games to movies, reminds us that the god of war still holds sway over our imaginations. So, what do you think of Ares? Was he simply a god of destruction, or do you think there's more to his character? Let me know in the comments below.
Did you know that Norse mythology includes not just gods like Odin and Thor, but also terrifying monsters like Fenr and Jormungandr? In today's video, we're diving into the captivating world of Norse mythology, exploring its rich tapestry of gods, monsters, and epic tales. Many people are familiar with popular figures like Thor from Marvel, but there's so much more depth and complexity in the original myths that deserves to be explored. It's easy to get caught up in the modern adaptations, but the original stories have a richness and authenticity that's worth discovering. Take Thor, for example. In the comics, he's a superhero with incredible strength, but in the myths, he's a complex figure with a deep sense of humor and a penchant for getting into trouble. The original myths offer a level of nuance and complexity that's often lost in modern adaptations. By exploring the original stories, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the characters and the world they inhabit. And who knows, we might even discover some new favorite gods and monsters along the way. The gods and goddesses of Norse mythology are some of the most fascinating figures in the pantheon. From the Allfather Odin, with his ravens and wolves, to the mysterious and enigmatic Freya, with her necklace of tears, each of the gods has their own unique personality and story. And then there's Loki, the trickster god, who's always getting into mischief and causing trouble for the other gods. The complexities of their relationships and interactions are what make the myths so compelling and offer a glimpse into the cultural and societal values of the time. We'll delve into the major gods like Odin, Freya, and Loki, as well as fearsome creatures such as giants and dragons, and discuss their roles in the mythological narratives. The giants, or Jotnar, are some of the most fascinating creatures in the pantheon, with their incredible strength and often amoral behavior. And then there's the Midgard serpent, Jormungandr, who's so massive he encircles the entire world. Each of these creatures offers a unique glimpse into the cultural and societal values of the time, and helps to illuminate the complexities of the myths. The stories themselves are epic in scope, ranging from the creation of the world to the eventual destruction of Ragnarok. The myths are full of action, adventure, and drama, with gods and monsters clashing in a battle for fate. And at the heart of it all is the complex web of relationships between the gods, with all their alliances and rivalries. The myths are a window into the past, offering us a glimpse of a long-lost culture and way of life. The climax of our exploration will focus on the dramatic events of Ragnarok, the end of the world in Norse mythology, where gods and monsters clash in a battle for fate. This epic tale is one of the most compelling in the entire pantheon, with its themes of fate, destiny, and the cyclical nature of time. From the fire giant Surtur emerging from the south, to the final battle between the gods and the forces of chaos, Ragnarok is a story that's both terrifying and exhilarating. And at the heart of it all is the question of whether the gods will be able to survive, or if they'll succumb to the forces of destruction. As the world burns and the gods fall, the story of Ragnarok becomes one of rebirth and renewal, as the survivors emerge into a new world, free from the burdens of the past. It's a powerful message, one that speaks to the cyclical nature of time, and the idea that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope for a brighter future. The themes of Ragnarok are timeless, speaking to fundamental human concerns about mortality, fate, and the nature of existence. In the end, Ragnarok serves as a reminder of the power of myth to illuminate our understanding of the world and our place within it. The stories of Norse mythology are a gift, offering us a window into the past and a glimpse of a long-lost culture and way of life. By exploring these stories, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the complexities and nuances of human culture and the ways in which our stories shape our understanding of the world. We'll wrap up by summarizing the key themes and lessons from these ancient stories that still resonate today. From the importance of community and cooperation to the dangers of pride and ambition, the myths of Norse mythology offer a wealth of wisdom and insight that's still relevant today.
Join me as I dive deep into Odin's wisdom and challenge myself to apply his divine lessons to my everyday life for a whole week. Odin, the All-Father of Norse mythology, is a symbol of wisdom, power, and sacrifice. His journey is a testament to the importance of perseverance and the pursuit of knowledge. As the ruler of Asgard, Odin's wisdom and guidance have shaped the fate of the 9 realms, and his sacrifices have become legendary tales that continue to inspire and teach us valuable lessons. Odin's quest for knowledge was not an easy one. He had to face incredible challenges and make unimaginable sacrifices to gain the wisdom he sought. One of the most significant examples of his determination is the story of how he obtained the runes, ancient symbols of power and wisdom. According to myth, Odin hung himself from the branch of Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days and 9 nights, sacrificing his own life force to gain the knowledge of the runes. This powerful display of devotion and determination is a testament to the importance Odin placed on wisdom and understanding. Odin's sacrifices didn't stop there. He also gave up one of his eyes in exchange for a drink from the well of Mimir, a magical spring that granted wisdom and insight. This sacrifice, along with many others, demonstrates the extreme lengths Odin was willing to go to in order to gain the knowledge and power he desired. These sacrifices not only shaped his character, but also taught him valuable lessons about the nature of the universe and the interconnectedness of all things. The obstacles Odin faced on his journey were not limited to physical challenges. He also had to contend with the complexities of his own nature and the prophecies that foretold the downfall of the gods. Despite these challenges, Odin persevered, using his wisdom and cunning to overcome the obstacles that stood in his way. Through his experiences, Odin gained a profound understanding of the workings of the universe and the delicate balance of fate. He learned that true wisdom comes not from knowledge itself, but from the sacrifices we make to gain that knowledge. These sacrifices, and the lessons they taught him, have become an integral part of his character and the wisdom he imparts to others. One of the most significant stories about Odin is the tale of his sacrifice on Yggdrasil. This powerful narrative teaches us about the importance of perseverance, courage, and determination in the face of adversity. It also highlights the transformative power of sacrifice, demonstrating how Odin's willingness to give up his own life force allowed him to gain the knowledge and power he sought. Odin's sacrifice on Yggdrasil also speaks to the idea of rebirth and renewal. By giving up his life force, Odin was able to gain a new perspective and understanding of the world, which ultimately allowed him to return to life with a newfound appreciation for the preciousness of existence. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of letting go of our attachments and embracing change in order to grow and evolve. The lessons we can learn from Odin's experiences are just as relevant today as they were in ancient times. His willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good, his perseverance in the face of adversity, and his determination to gain wisdom and understanding are all qualities that we can emulate in our own lives. Perhaps the most significant lesson we can learn from Odin is the importance of embracing our own darkness and imperfections. By acknowledging and accepting our own limitations, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This acceptance can lead to personal growth, increased empathy, and a deeper connection to the universe and its mysteries. The most significant moment of sacrifice that led to Odin's enlightenment was his willingness to give up his own life force in exchange for wisdom and knowledge. This transformative experience allowed him to gain a profound understanding of the universe and its workings, ultimately leading to his enlightenment. Odin's willingness to make this sacrifice demonstrates the importance of letting go of our attachments and embracing the unknown in order to grow and evolve. In conclusion, Odin's wisdom and sacrifices offer us a wealth of knowledge and insights that can be applied to our everyday lives. By embracing his lessons, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, ultimately leading to personal growth and transformation.
Thor is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters in the Marvel Universe, and for good reason. As the god of thunder, he's got a certain swagger that's hard to resist. I mean, who wouldn't want to wield a hammer that can summon lightning bolts and control the weather? But beyond the hammer and the thunder, Thor's story is full of epic battles, personal growth, and some pretty hilarious moments. Today I'm diving into some of Thor's craziest moments and ranking them from least to most epic. Let's see how many of your favorite Thor moments made the list. First off, let's talk about one of the most complicated relationships in the MCU, Thor's bond with his brother Loki. Whether they're fighting against each other or teaming up to save Asgard, Thor and Loki's dynamic is always intense. Their relationship evolves from sibling rivalry to reluctant allies, showing us that even gods struggle with family drama. Their moments together are full of betrayal and redemption, and you can't talk about Thor without mentioning his love-hate relationship with Loki. Next up, Thor's struggle with grief and failure in Avengers Endgame. This is one of Thor's most human moments. After failing to stop Thanos, we see Thor grappling with immense guilt and loss, transforming from a confident god to someone who feels completely defeated. His arc in Endgame shows how even gods have to deal with failure and find a way to rise again. His transformation, complete with his Lebowski look, also adds some humor, reminding us that Thor, even in his darkest moments, still has a heart of gold. Then there's Thor's journey from warrior to leader. He's always been a fighter, but we see him truly step into a leadership role as he mentors Valkyrie and eventually passes the throne of Asgard to her. It's a powerful moment that shows Thor has grown from being a brash, headstrong prince to a thoughtful leader who understands what it means to put his people first. Of course, we can't forget his epic fight against the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. This is one of the most memorable and fun fights in the MCU, two of the strongest Avengers going head-to-head in an arena. Thor vs. Hulk is the showdown we all wanted, but it's also more than just a fight. Thor's arc in Ragnarok centers on him realizing that his true strength doesn't come from his hammer, Mjolnir, but from within himself. That's a powerful message, one of growth and self-discovery. Speaking of the hammer, Mjolnir is basically an extension of Thor himself. It's a symbol of his power but also his identity. Losing Mjolnir in Ragnarok left Thor vulnerable, but it also pushed him to find his strength beyond the weapon. And remember when he becomes worthy again to wield both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker in Endgame? That was a jaw-dropping moment that cemented Thor's status as a true hero, not just because of his powers, but because of who he is. But Thor isn't all serious. Let's talk about his hilarious moments. Whether it's accidentally summoning goats or getting a terrible haircut, Thor has given us plenty of laughs. One of my favorite funny moments is when he thought he was a statue. Despite being a god, Thor is still just a big softy with a goofy side. His sense of humor is what makes him so relatable despite all the godly might. Let's not forget Thor's epic showdown with Surtur in Ragnarok. Facing off against a fire demon the size of a mountain? No problem for Thor. He takes down Surtur's army with ease, and the best part is he looks like he's having the time of his life. The combination of his bravado and sheer power in that moment is what makes it one of Thor's wildest scenes. Then there's his evolution into the King of Asgard. Thor's growth from a reckless warrior to a compassionate leader culminates in him passing the leadership of New Asgard to Valkyrie. He's learned to step back, understanding that being a leader isn't just about power but about making the right choices for his people. It's a beautiful moment of selflessness that marks the end of one chapter in his life and the beginning of another. And if we're talking about Thor's cosmic adventures, let's not forget how he started interacting with other mythologies. With the introduction of other gods like Zeus and Hercules in Thor, Love and Thunder, Thor's story has expanded into other pantheons. What could be cooler than watching gods from different mythologies clash in future adventures? This opens up a whole new world of possibilities for Thor's character moving forward. Lastly, Thor's connection to Earth is a key part of what makes him so unique. From his romance with Jane Foster to his friendships with the Avengers, Thor has always had a soft spot for humanity. His attachment to Midgard or Earth helps him grow beyond the godly arrogance he had when we first met him. In many ways, his experiences on Earth have shaped him into the hero he is today. So there you have it, Thor's wildest and most epic moments ranked. From his hilarious mishaps to his battles with gods and monsters, Thor has proven time and again that he's more than just the god of thunder. He's a hero with heart, humor, and a deep sense of responsibility. But what do you guys think? Did I get the ranking right, or do you have your own favorite Thor moments that deserve the top spot?
Let's dive deep into the chaos of Loki, the trickster god, and unravel the mysteries behind his mischief and the threads of fate that shape his journey. Loki is a character full of contradictions. A trickster, a shapeshifter, a god who defied the gods themselves. What makes Loki so fascinating is his complexity. He's a villain, a hero, and everything in between. So, let's dive into the world of this legendary figure and explore how his story challenges our perceptions of fate, identity, and morality. Loki's nature has always been shrouded in mystery, making it difficult to pin him down as a hero or a villain. He walks the fine line between clever trickster and cunning manipulator, often leaving us wondering what his true intentions are. What drives him? Is it justice, chaos, or something else entirely? His actions can be both clever and malicious, raising questions about how we judge others based on their actions. And one thing is for sure, Loki's complexity is what makes him endlessly captivating. Let's begin by exploring Loki's roots in Norse mythology, where he is often depicted as the adopted son of Odin and Frigga. But unlike Thor, who's seen as a hero of Asgard, Loki is the ultimate outsider. Despite being among the gods, Loki is constantly stirring trouble. He is known for his shape-shifting abilities, transforming into anything from a salmon to a mare, and he uses his tricks both to help and to hinder the gods. One of Loki's most infamous stories is when he cuts off the hair of Thor's wife, Sif. This action sets off a chain of events, leading Loki to bargain with the dwarves to create powerful items, including Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. This story alone showcases Loki's dual nature. He causes chaos, but ultimately provides the gods with tools that help them in their battles. He constantly operates in that gray area between being a nuisance and being essential to the divine order. Loki's shape-shifting abilities symbolize his fluid and unpredictable nature. Unlike many other gods, he doesn't have a set form or a defined sense of self. He transforms into a mare, a fly, and even an old woman in different tales. This shape-shifting is not just a trick or a power. It's a metaphor for Loki's ever-changing personality. He's a character who can't be easily pinned down, which is why he's such a fascinating figure. Loki's fluidity reflects the contradictions that exist within us all. One moment, he's helping the gods. The next, he's working against them. His actions leave us questioning whether we can ever truly define him as good or evil. And isn't that the essence of the human condition? We're not purely one thing or the other. Loki mirrors this inner turmoil, embodying both the light and dark sides of human nature. Loki's role in mythology becomes even more significant when we look at his children, each of whom plays a key part in the Norse apocalypse, Ragnarok. His children include the monstrous wolf Fenr, the world-encircling serpent Jormungandr, and Hel, the ruler of the underworld. These beings, born of Loki's union with the giantess Angrboda, are symbols of chaos and destruction, mirroring Loki's own unpredictable nature. Fenrir, for example, is fated to kill Odin during Ragnarok, while Jormungandr is destined to fight Thor to the death. These relationships emphasize Loki's role as a catalyst for the end of the world. Even though he's not always directly responsible for the chaos, he is the father of forces that will ultimately bring about the downfall of the gods. This raises the question, is Loki the orchestrator of fate, or is he bound by it just like everyone else? Now let's talk about Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, where Loki's role becomes central. In Norse mythology, it is prophesied that Loki will fight against the gods in the final battle, siding with the giants and leading them into Asgard. But what's interesting about Loki's involvement in Ragnarok is his apparent struggle with fate. Throughout his life, Loki plays with destiny, using his cunning and trickery to escape his punishment time and time again. But in the end, even he can't escape his role in the grand design of the cosmos. This brings us to one of the most compelling aspects of Loki's character, his internal conflict between fate and free will. Is he truly in control of his actions, or is he just playing the part that destiny has written for him? Loki is often seen as an agent of chaos, but he's also a victim of fate. His journey reflects a deeper philosophical question. Are we all bound by destiny, or can we forge our own paths? One moment that perfectly illustrates this struggle is when Loki leads the giants in the battle of Ragnarok. Despite his previous loyalty to the gods, he ends up on the side of destruction. This moment forces us to question whether Loki is acting out of his own free will or simply fulfilling a prophecy. And in the end, Loki meets his tragic fate, killed by Heimdall in a final confrontation. But before Ragnarok, there's another crucial moment in Loki's story, his ultimate betrayal and punishment. After the death of the beloved god Balder, which Loki orchestrates by tricking Balder's blind brother Hod into killing him, the gods finally turn on Loki. This is a defining moment in his narrative. His cleverness and mischief have gone too far. Loki is captured and bound in a cave, with a venomous serpent suspended above him. As the snake's venom drips onto his face, Loki's wife, Sigyn, stands by his side, catching the poison in a bowl. But whenever the bowl is full, she must leave to empty it, and in those moments, Loki is racked with agonizing pain. This punishment is a stark contrast to the clever, free-willed Loki we've seen before. In this moment, he becomes a tragic figure, bound by the consequences of his actions. Now let's shift our gaze to modern interpretations of Loki, especially in the Marvel Universe, where he has become an iconic figure. Marvel's Loki retains many of the traits from Norse mythology. He's still a trickster and shapeshifter, still constantly in conflict with Thor, and still driven by a complex mix of envy and love for his family. But the Marvel films add more depth to his character, giving him a vulnerability that makes him more relatable. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Loki's relationship with Thor becomes a central theme, and his motivations are explored in greater detail. We see Loki as not just a trickster, but a character who is constantly seeking his place in the world. He's not driven purely by a desire for chaos or power. There's also a deep-seated need for belonging and recognition. This dynamic adds new layers to his story, making him more than just a villain. Loki's story is one of tragedy and triumph, mischief and destiny. He walks the fine line between chaos and fate, blurring the lines between the two. Through his story, we're forced to confront our own perceptions of morality and the nature of fate. Is Loki a hero, a villain, or something in between? Perhaps the answer lies in his complexity, a character who defies simple categorization and invites us to see the gray areas in our own lives.
The world of Freya, the goddess of love, war, magic, and mysteries in Norse mythology. Freya is not just a goddess to be admired for her beauty, but also for her courage and power. From the heart of battle to the delicate threads of fate, Freya's story is one of the most intriguing in the Norse pantheon. So join me as we try to uncover her secrets and the legends that surround this formidable figure. Freya, one of the most powerful deities in Norse mythology, was not just a goddess of love and beauty. Her influence stretched far beyond what many imagine, as she was also associated with war, death, fertility, and sorcery. This makes Freya a truly complex and multifaceted character. In fact, she embodies a perfect balance between tenderness and ferocity, compassion and strength, qualities that made her beloved by gods and mortals alike. Freya is often depicted in her chariot, which is pulled by two cats, a symbol of her magical nature. Cats were seen as creatures of mystery and independence, much like Freya herself. She's also known to don a cloak made of falcon feathers, allowing her to shapeshift and travel between realms, further highlighting her deep connection with magic. While many associate Freya primarily with love and beauty, her powers extended far beyond romance. She had the unique privilege of selecting warriors who would die in battle, and would take half of those fallen to her hall, Folkvanger. The other half were sent to Odin's hall, Valhalla. This critical role in the afterlife shows that Freya wasn't just a passive deity of affection. She wielded significant influence over the fates of men. This duality between love and death is central to her character. Freya's connection to magic is also a key element of her persona. She was a practitioner of seer, a form of Norse sorcery that allowed her to see and influence the future. In fact, it's said that she was the one who taught Odin the art of seer. This powerful form of magic often dealt with altering fate, manipulating reality, and communicating with the spirits of the dead. It's fascinating to think that the mighty Allfather Odin himself learned the art of fate-weaving from Freya. This speaks volumes about her role as a wise and influential figure in Norse mythology. Now let's delve into her family and origins. Freya was born into the Vanir, a group of gods associated with fertility and prosperity, as the daughter of the sea god Njord and the sister of Fenr, the god of fertility. This familial connection tied her deeply to themes of life and renewal. As a member of the Vanir, Freya's presence symbolized growth, abundance, and love. But after the Aesir-Vanir War, a war between two races of gods, Freya became a part of the Aesir tribe and brought her knowledge of seer magic with her, further enhancing her reputation as a powerful and wise deity. Freya's marriage to the god Odin is another intriguing part of her story. Unlike many goddesses, Freya was deeply attached to her husband, but their marriage was marked by sorrow. Odin disappeared on a long journey and Freya's tears, said to be made of red gold, fell in her grief. She traveled through many worlds in search of Odin, and her sorrow over his absence was so profound that it said her tears created precious gold. This myth beautifully illustrates Freya's deep emotional complexity and her ability to experience and express both profound love and loss. Her search for Odin is symbolic of the journey of the soul and the longing for unity, which ties into her associations with both life and death. Freya's character is not just that of a lover, but also a seeker of truth and balance, navigating the cosmic forces that shape the universe. Her grief over Odin's disappearance led her to travel across different realms, which further emphasized her link with the mysterious and the otherworldly. Another significant aspect of Freya's persona is her leadership of the Valkyries, the choosers of the slain. The Valkyries, fierce warrior maidens, would guide fallen warriors to either Folkvang or Valhalla, and Freya's association with them highlights her role as a goddess of war. She was not a passive observer of battle. She was an active participant, shaping the fates of those who fought valiantly. In some accounts, she even took to the battlefield herself, riding into war and inspiring warriors with her strength and beauty. The balance of love and war is a delicate one, and Freya's influence on both aspects of life makes her a goddess unlike any other. While she could stir the passions of love, she could also incite the fury of battle. Her ability to inspire warriors, while simultaneously wielding the powers of magic and fate, made her one of the most revered deities in Norse mythology. Her connection to magic goes beyond seer. Freya was also associated with the Vanir's more nature-based magic, rooted in fertility and the cycles of life. She represents the natural world's mysterious and ever-changing forces, linking her to concepts like transformation, rebirth, and the cycles of seasons. The balance between love and war, life and death, magic and reality, all converge in Freya's persona. The mysteries surrounding Freya's character have left many scholars and storytellers captivated. Even today, she serves as a symbol of feminine power, independence, and mystery. Whether she's depicted as a lover, a warrior, or a seeker of truth, Freya's complexities make her one of the most enduring figures in mythology. As we've uncovered today, Freya is far more than just a goddess of love. She is a force of nature, capable of shaping the very destiny of gods and men alike. She stands at the intersection of life and death, war and peace, magic and reality, making her a truly fascinating subject. If you enjoyed this exploration of Freya's world,
we venture into the dark and mysterious realms of Norse mythology to explore the terrifying tale of Fenr, the monstrous wolf prophesied to bring about Ragnarok, the end of the world. Born from the chaos and trickery of Loki, Fenrir's destiny is intricately woven with that of the gods, and his wrath threatens to destroy everything in his path. Join me as we unravel the legend of the wolf who will devour the gods. Fenr is not just a terrifying creature in Norse mythology. He is a symbol of chaos, fate, and the destruction that is unavoidable in life and death. His tale is one of power, fear, and the gods' desperate attempts to delay the inevitable. But, as we'll learn today, fate cannot be denied. Fenrir's origin story begins with his parents. Loki, the god of mischief and chaos, and Angerboda, a giantess from Jotunheim. From this union, 3 monstrous children were born: Fenr, Jormungandr, the world serpent, and Hel, ruler of the underworld. Each of these siblings was foretold to bring great doom upon the gods, but it was Fenrir's fate that would strike the most fear into the hearts of the Aesir. When Fenrir was still a pup, the gods initially tried to raise him in Asgard under their watchful eyes. Yet even in his youth, Fenrir showed signs of his uncontrollable power. He grew at an astonishing rate, and it became clear that his strength would soon surpass that of any creature in the 9 worlds. As his size increased, so did the gods' fear, for they knew that Fenrir was destined to play a central role in their destruction. The Aesir were haunted by a prophecy that foretold their downfall during Ragnarok, a great cosmic battle that would bring about the end of the world. Central to this prophecy was Fenrir, the wolf who would devour Odin, the All-Father, and lead to the destruction of Asgard. The gods could feel the looming shadow of this fate, but they were powerless to stop it. At first, the gods tried to live alongside Fenrir, hoping to placate the beast. Tyr, the god of war and justice, was the only one brave enough to feed Fenrir and interact with him directly. But even Tyr could sense that the wolf's growing power was something beyond their control. As Fenrir continued to grow in size and ferocity, the gods made the decision to bind him, for fear that he would fulfill his dark destiny. But how does one bind a force of nature itself? The first attempts to bind Fenrir were laughable to the great wolf. The gods forged chains from the strongest iron they could find, but each time, Fenrir broke free with little effort. His strength was beyond anything the gods had encountered, and they soon realized they would need a different solution. Determined to prevent the prophecy from unfolding, the gods sought the aid of the dwarves, renowned craftsmen known for their ability to create objects of immense power. The dwarves forged a magical chain called Gleipnir, a seemingly fragile ribbon, crafted from the most unusual ingredients: the sound of a cat's footfall, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish, and the beard of a woman, among other impossible elements. Despite its delicate appearance, Gleipnir was enchanted to be unbreakable. The gods, fearing Fenrir's suspicion, approached him with a cunning plan. They asked him to test his strength by breaking Gleipnir, assuring him it was merely a game. But Fenrir was no fool. Sensing deception, he refused to be bound unless one of the gods placed their hand in his mouth as a show of trust. Tyr, the god of war, volunteered, knowing full well what this meant. Fenrir allowed himself to be bound by Gleipnir, but when he realized he could not break free, he bit down, severing Tyr's hand as payment for their treachery. Though Fenrir was now bound, the gods were not at ease. They knew that this was a temporary solution, a stalling tactic in the face of the inevitable. Fenrir's fate was written in the stars, and one day he would break free. Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, was an event that none could escape. It was a battle that would bring about the destruction of the gods, giants, and much of the known world. Central to this cataclysmic event was Fenrir, whose freedom marked the beginning of the end. As Ragnarok approaches, the world falls into chaos. The sun and moon are devoured by wolves, plunging the world into darkness. Earthquakes shake the land, and the sky is filled with storms and fire. The giants march from Jotunheim, ready to battle the gods, and Loki, having broken free from his bonds, sails the ship Naglfar toward Asgard with an army of the dead. Amidst this chaos, Fenrir finally snaps his chains. His fury is uncontainable, and his roar echoes across the 9 worlds. The gods brace for the final battle, knowing that their doom is at hand. In the heart of the battlefield, Fenrir faces his greatest foe, Odin, the All-Father, leader of the Aesir. Odin, riding his mighty 8-legged steed Sleipnir, charges in a battle with his spear Gungnir, prepared to meet his fate. But the prophecy cannot be denied. Fenr, fueled by rage and the inevitable pull of destiny, devours Odin, swallowing him whole in one horrific moment. The All-Father, the ruler of the gods, falls to the jaws of the wolf. But Fenrir's victory is short-lived. Odin's son, Vidar, the god of vengeance, steps forward to avenge his father. Armed with a magical shoe that grants him immense strength, Vidar battles Fenrir. He pries open the wolf's jaw and slays him, finally bringing an end to the beast who had long been destined to destroy the gods. Fenrir's tale is more than just a story of a monstrous wolf. In Norse mythology, he represents the chaotic forces of nature, the inevitable end that comes for all things, even the gods. His binding symbolizes mankind's futile attempts to control the uncontrollable, to stave off fate. But as we learn from his eventual freedom, destiny cannot be altered, only delayed. Fenrir also serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of Norse mythology. The end of one world gives way to the birth of another. Though Ragnarok brings destruction, it also brings renewal. New gods will rise, and the world will be reborn, just as Fenrir's actions pave the way for a new era. The story of Fenrir, the dreaded wolf destined to devour the gods, is a powerful reminder of the forces of chaos and fate that govern the universe. His role in Ragnarok marks the end of an era, but also the beginning of something new. Fenrir, with his unstoppable strength and boundless fury, is a symbol of the destruction and rebirth that lies at the heart of Norse mythology. If you enjoyed this exploration of Fenrir's legend,
join me as I dive into the ultimate showdown of Norse mythology. Thor, the god of thunder, takes on Jormungand, the world serpent, a battle foretold to shape the very fate of the cosmos. What really happens when these two titans clash? Let's find out. In the world of Norse mythology, few stories are as gripping or as symbolic as the battle between Thor and Jormungand. On one side, you have Thor, the protector of Asgard and the Nine Realms, known for his bravery, strength, and his iconic weapon Mjolnir. On the other, there's Jormungand, a monstrous serpent so vast that it encircles the earth itself, biding its time for the cataclysmic event known as Ragnarok, the end of the world as we know it. This battle isn't just about brute strength. It's a cosmic showdown between order and chaos, between the protector and the destroyer. Today, we'll explore Jormungandr's origins, his fated role in Ragnarok, and the climactic battle between him and Thor, which ends in their mutual destruction. We'll also uncover the deeper symbolism behind this epic confrontation, reflecting the cyclical nature of time and the universe. Let's start with Jormungandr's origins. Born to Loki, the trickster god, and the giantess Angerboda, Jormungandr was one of three monstrous children, alongside the wolf Fenr and Hel, the ruler of the underworld. Upon his birth, Odin, the All-Father, saw Jormungandr's immense potential for destruction and cast him into the ocean that encircles Midgard, or Earth. There, Jormungandr grew so large that he could wrap himself around the entire planet and bite his own tail. This image of Jormungandr biting his tail is not just a depiction of his immense size. It represents the Ouroboros, an ancient symbol of eternity, cycles, and the interconnectedness of all things. In this way, Jormungandr represents the inevitable cycles of destruction and rebirth that define Norse cosmology. On the other side of this story is Thor, son of Odin and defender of the Nine Realms. With his hammer Mjolnir, Thor has defeated countless giants, trolls, and monsters, protecting the gods and mortals alike. But none of these battles compares to his destined confrontation with Jormungandr. It's not the first time Thor and the serpent meet. Their earlier encounters foreshadow this final battle. In one myth, Thor attempts to fish Jormungandr out of the sea, only for the serpent to escape when a giant sabotages Thor's efforts. This brief clash plants the seeds for their eventual apocalyptic battle at Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the twilight of the gods, the prophesied end of the world in Norse mythology, where the forces of chaos, led by Loki and his monstrous children, rise against the gods of Asgard. The world is engulfed in fire and destruction. The sun and moon are devoured by wolves, and the seas surge as Jormungandr rises from the depths, signaling the beginning of the end. Thor and Jormungandr are fated to meet on the battlefield during Ragnarok. It is a fight not just between two physical forces, but between cosmic elements, thunder and lightning against the ocean and chaos. As Thor wades through the sea of destruction, Mjolnir in hand, he faces his greatest challenge yet, the enormous, venomous serpent whose very presence threatens the balance of the world. As the battle begins, the earth trembles under the weight of Jormungandr's massive coils. The skies darken as Thor charges toward his enemy, his hammer crackling with divine power. With every strike of Mjolnir, thunder echoes across the 9 realms. But Jormungandr is no ordinary foe. His venomous breath poisons the very air around him, and his strength is enough to shatter mountains. The two clash in an epic struggle, each blow sending shockwaves through the cosmos. The battle rages on, Thor unleashing his fury with Mjolnir, while Jormungandr retaliates with deadly force. At last, Thor lands the fatal blow, striking the serpent down. But victory comes at a heavy price. Jormungandr, in his final moments, releases a cloud of venom so potent that Thor, despite his godly resilience, is only able to walk 9 steps before succumbing to the poison. Both warrior and serpent fall, and their deaths signal the beginning of the end for the gods. The world is engulfed in flames, and the gods of Asgard meet their fates. But in true Norse fashion, destruction is not the end. Out of the ashes, a new world is destined to rise, reborn from the chaos, and the cycle begins anew. The story of Jormungandr and Thor is rich with symbolism. Jormungandr, the Ouroboros, represents the cyclical nature of time, the endless loop of destruction and rebirth. Thor, as the defender of Asgard, symbolizes order and protection, but also the inevitability of fate. In this way, their battle is more than a physical confrontation. It reflects the larger cosmic balance between creation and destruction, life and death, and the endless cycles that govern existence. It's a theme that resonates far beyond Norse mythology. The idea of a great serpent encircling the world can be found in many cultures, representing everything from the boundless ocean to the infinite nature of time. And the hero's battle against the forces of chaos is a story that repeats itself in countless myths across history, reminding us of the delicate balance that holds the universe together. The battle between Thor and Jormungandr is one of the most iconic moments in Norse mythology. It's a tale of heroism, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Even though both combatants meet their end, their story lives on, passed down through the ages as a reminder of the cyclical nature of time and the inevitability of fate. So, what do you think of this epic showdown? Join me as we dive deep into the mysterious world of Norse mythology and challenge ourselves to unravel one of its most puzzling mysteries. Who really rules the dead? Is it the mighty Odin, king of the gods? Or perhaps hell, the half-living, half-rotting daughter of Loki? Let's see if we can make sense of the afterlife in this fascinating mythological tradition. Norse mythology is rich with tales of gods, giants, and heroes, but few aspects of it are as fascinating or as complex as the afterlife. The ancient Norse believed that death was not an end, but rather a passage to another realm, and where a soul ended up after death depended greatly on the manner in which they died. However, as with many ancient mythologies, There's no one simple answer to the question of who rules the dead. In fact, if you've ever tried to figure out exactly what happens to a soul in the Norse afterlife, you've likely come across a mix of confusing and even contradictory answers. There are multiple realms of the dead, and each has its own ruler. But who is truly in charge? We know that the Norse believed in various afterlife destinations. Valhalla, a glorious hall presided over by Odin, where warriors slain in battle go to feast and prepare for Ragnarok. Then there's Helheim, ruled by the goddess Hel, where the souls of those who died of sickness, old age, or dishonor reside. And let's not forget Nibelheim, a cold and misty realm that overlaps with Helheim, often confused with Hel's domain but distinct in some ways. So, what is the relationship between these realms? Is Hel truly the ruler of all the dead, or is she only in charge of a portion of them? And where does Odin fit into all of this? These are questions that have puzzled scholars and enthusiasts alike. Let's start by focusing on Hel herself. Hel is one of the most intriguing figures in Norse mythology. She is the daughter of Loki, the trickster god, and her very appearance speaks volumes about her nature. Half of her body is that of a beautiful woman, while the other half is decayed and rotting, a stark reminder of death's dual nature, the line between life and decay. Hel rules over Helheim, the realm where those who die of illness, old age, or less honorable deaths are sent. But her role in the mythology is far more significant than just governing this one portion of the afterlife. Hel's realm is described as cold, dark, and shadowy, a place devoid of the glory that warriors find in Valhalla. Yet, for many of the dead, this is where their journey ends, and Hel is the one who watches over them. Her domain, while bleak, is not one of torment, at least not in the traditional sense of hellfire and brimstone. Hel's realm represents the inevitable decay that comes with death. It's not a place of punishment, but rather a place of rest for those who have passed on without the honor of battle. Let's turn to Odin, the All-Father, King of the Aesir. Odin is known for many things. His wisdom, his role in war, his insatiable thirst for knowledge. But he's also connected to the dead. Odin chooses slain warriors to join him in Valhalla, the grand hall where they continue to fight and feast in preparation for the end of the world, Ragnarok. Valhalla is often depicted as a warrior's paradise. Those who die bravely in battle are selected by Odin's Valkyries and taken to this magnificent hall. Here, they feast and engage in combat during the day, and by night, their wounds are healed so they can do it all over again. It's a hero's afterlife, one reserved for the elite. But this raises an important question. What about those who don't fall in battle? Are they relegated to the cold clutches of Hel? In a way, even that division is not so clear-cut. What makes things even more confusing is the overlap between Helheim and another realm, Nibelheim. Nibelheim is one of the 9 worlds in Norse cosmology, a land of mist and cold that predates even the creation of the gods. According to some accounts, Helheim lies within Nibelheim, or at least near it. The two realms are often mentioned together, leading some to believe that Hel might have jurisdiction over more than just her Hall of Helheim. Nibelheim, however, is described as a place of eternal cold and darkness, where souls wander aimlessly. Some sources suggest it's where the truly dishonored or damned souls reside, those who have committed unspeakable crimes or betrayed the gods. Does Hel control this realm too, or is Nibelheim something separate? The lines blur, but one thing is clear. Hel's dominion over the dead is far-reaching, and if things weren't complicated enough, there's a third figure we need to consider, Freya. The goddess of love, fertility, and battle has a special connection to the dead as well. She presides over a realm called Folkvang, and according to the mythology, She receives half of the warriors who die in battle, while Odin takes the other half to Valhalla. This raises another question. How does Freya fit into the overall picture? Is she a co-ruler of the dead, or does her realm only pertain to warriors? Once again, we're left with more questions than answers. So, who really rules the dead? The truth might be that there's no singular ruler. Norse mythology is, at its core, a tapestry of stories woven together, often with inconsistencies. The afterlife is no different. Hell certainly holds dominion over a large portion of the dead, particularly those who die from natural causes or dishonor. Odin, meanwhile, rules over Valhalla and the souls of warriors. While Freya shares in this responsibility, it seems that the afterlife in Norse mythology reflects the many facets of death itself. Death is not a one-size-fits-all experience, and neither is the afterlife. Each god or goddess oversees a different aspect of death, and each realm offers a different experience based on how a person lived and died. As we've seen, the concept of death in the afterlife in Norse mythology is incredibly complex. Hell, Odin, Freya, Niflheim, Helheim, Valhalla, all of these names and places form a mosaic of mythological beliefs about what happens after we die. And while we may never fully unravel the mystery of who truly rules the dead, one thing is clear. Death in Norse mythology is as multifaceted as life itself. So, what do you think? Join me as we explore the tale of Baldur, the beloved god of light, and how his tragic death set the stage for Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse, in a world where gods wield immense power. Even they cannot escape fate's cruel design. But what happens when the death of one god is the spark that ignites the end of everything? In the vast expanse of Norse mythology, Baldur stands out as a figure of purity, light, and joy. He is the son of Odin, the Allfather, and Frigg, the goddess of motherhood and love. Baldur's presence brought radiance to Asgard, the realm of the gods, and his kindness endeared him to both gods and mortals alike. His beauty and brilliance were unmatched, and he was seen as a symbol of innocence and peace in a pantheon often fraught with chaos and conflict. However, even the brightest light casts a shadow, and Baldur's fate was intertwined with a prophecy of doom. According to the seers, Baldur's death would be the catalyst that triggers Ragnarok, the final battle that would bring destruction to the gods and the cosmos. But how could the demise of this shining deity be possible? His invulnerability, granted by his mother Frigg, who had made everything in existence swear never to harm her son, seemed to assure his safety. Everything, that is, except for one small, seemingly insignificant object, mistletoe. The serenity of Baldur's life was shattered by the trickster god Loki, whose mischief often turned to malevolence. As Baldur's fame and beauty grew, so did Loki's jealousy. The gods, confident in Baldur's supposed invulnerability, made sport of throwing objects at him, marveling at how nothing could harm him. Stones, weapons, and even magic bounced harmlessly off his skin. It was a game of trust, a display of divine favor, until Loki intervened. Loki, ever the schemer, discovered the one loophole in Frigg's protective vow. She had overlooked mistletoe, believing it too small and insignificant to be a threat. Seizing upon this weakness, Loki fashioned a spear from the plant and sought out Baldur's blind brother, Hoder. In a twisted act of manipulation, Loki guided Hoder's hand, tricking him into hurling the mistletoe spear at his own brother. The spear struck true. As it pierced Baldur's chest, the impossible became reality. The god of light fell. In an instant, Asgard was thrown into chaos. The gods watched in horror as Baldur, once the embodiment of life and joy, lay motionless. The grief was overwhelming. Even the earth itself mourned, and the once bright realm of the gods seemed cloaked in darkness. Frigg, in her anguish, begged the gods to journey to Hel, the underworld, and plead for Baldur's return. Hermod, one of Odin's sons, undertook the perilous journey to Hel's domain. There, he met the death goddess Hel, who agreed to release Baldur on one condition: that all things in existence weep for him. If even one being refused to mourn, Baldur would remain among the dead. Word spread across the 9 worlds, and all beings, gods, mortals, and even the stones and trees wept for Baldur. Yet one figure, disguised as an old giantess, refused. This figure was Loki in disguise, ensuring that Baldur would not return to the living. Baldur's fate was sealed, and with it, the fate of the gods. The death of Baldur was not just the loss of a beloved god. It was a turning point in the cosmic order. His passing signified the unraveling of the world's stability. The gods, already shaken by grief, now understood that Ragnarok was inevitable. Baldur's death was the first in a series of events that would lead to the twilight of the gods, the great battle in which the world would be consumed by fire and chaos. With Baldur gone, the light in Asgard had dimmed, and the gods could feel the creeping shadow of Ragnarok drawing near. As Frigg wept for her son, Odin, too, was filled with dread. Not only had he lost his beloved son, but he also knew that Baldur's demise would lead to his own doom, along with that of the other gods. The prophecy foretold that Baldur's death was the first in a chain of events that would culminate in the destruction of Asgard, the fall of Odin, Thor, and the other gods, and the end of the world. Baldur's death is more than a tragic loss. It's a symbol of the inevitable end of innocence and peace. It signals that even in the realm of the gods, no one can escape fate. His demise marks the beginning of the end, a necessary step towards the destruction and rebirth that Ragnarok promises. Baldur's role in Norse mythology is that of a sacrificial figure. His death is a price for a new beginning, though it comes at the cost of the old world's annihilation. In the story of Baldur, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the inevitability of change. Even in a world of gods and giants, light can be extinguished and joy can turn to sorrow. Yet, from this darkness, Norse mythology also promises a rebirth, a new world that will rise from the ashes of Ragnarok. Baldur, though gone, represents hope for this new world, as he is prophesied to return after the great battle, bringing with him the light of a new age. What do you think of Baldur's tragic fate? Does his death symbolize more than just the end of an era? Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever wondered what it takes to stand against an unstoppable force, knowing full well it could cost you everything? Tyr, the one-handed god of war and justice, faced this exact challenge when he confronted the fearsome wolf Fenr. In a moment of ultimate sacrifice, he gave up more than just a hand. He risked the fate of the cosmos to protect the gods and all of creation. Join me as I take on the challenge of recreating Tyr's brave stand against the beast Fenr. Can I match his legendary courage? Let's dive into this epic tale. In Norse mythology, Tyr stands out as a figure of immense bravery, justice, and sacrifice. His most famous act, sacrificing his hand to bind Fenr, the monstrous wolf, is a powerful story about courage and duty. But who exactly was Tyr, and why was his role in binding Fenr so important? To understand his story, we must first explore the nature of Fenr and the threat he posed to the gods and the world itself. Fenr wasn't just any wolf. He was a creature foretold to play a devastating role in Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. According to the myths, Fenr would break free of his bonds and devour the sun, bringing about the downfall of the gods and plunging the world into chaos. From his birth, Fenrir's strength and size grew at an alarming rate. The gods, recognizing the threat, knew they had to act swiftly before the wolf became unstoppable. But binding Fenr wasn't easy. The gods attempted multiple times to restrain him, only to fail. Each time, Fenrir's power increased and their anxiety deepened. They feared what he would become if they didn't stop him soon. It was clear that ordinary means were not enough to contain the beast, and drastic measures were needed. Fenr was not only powerful but cunning, and he demanded assurances before he would allow any further attempts to bind him. This is where Tyr's role became crucial. Tyr was known as a god of war, justice, and law. Unlike other gods who relied on trickery or brute strength, Tyr stood as a paragon of honor and courage. His relationship with Fenr was complex. Despite the growing danger, Tyr had once been one of the few gods who dared to interact with Fenr, even feeding him as the wolf grew larger. This connection made Tyr the ideal candidate for what was to come. When the gods devised a plan to bind Fenr, using a magical chain forged by the dwarves, they knew they needed to trick him into believing that the chain was harmless. Fenr, suspicious as always, demanded that one of the gods place their hand in his mouth as a guarantee that they would release him if the chain failed. None of the gods dared to volunteer, none except Tyr. This moment is where Tyr's legend truly shines. Knowing full well that the gods had no intention of releasing Fenr once bound, Tyr understood the gravity of his decision. He wasn't just putting his hand on the line. He was placing himself directly in the path of the wolf's wrath. But for Tyr, the needs of the cosmos outweighed his personal safety. As Tyr approached Fenr, the tension was palpable. The other gods watched in anxious silence, knowing that failure meant certain doom. Tyr, however, remained calm, steady in his resolve. He placed his hand in Fenrir's mouth, a symbol of his trust and the ultimate show of courage. As the magical chain tightened and Fenrir realized he had been deceived, he bit down, severing Tyr's hand. But in that moment of pain and loss, Tyr achieved victory. Fenrir was bound, and the gods were safe, at least for the time being. Tyr's sacrifice became a turning point in the struggle between the gods and the forces of chaos. His bravery in the face of certain injuries showed the gods what it truly meant to act with honor. After losing his hand, Tyr's role in later myths began to diminish. Other gods, like Odin and Thor, took center stage in the narratives of Norse mythology. But Tyr's legacy as a symbol of justice, sacrifice, and courage remained. Even though his story became less prominent, his earlier importance in Germanic tradition cannot be understated. In fact, his influence was so significant that his name is still remembered today. Tuesday, or Tyr's Day, is named in his honor. What makes Tyr's story so timeless is that it taps into the universal themes of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. His willingness to give up his hand for the greater good speaks to the human condition. The idea that sometimes personal loss is necessary to achieve a larger purpose. In this way, Tyr's myth has endured through the centuries, resonating with audiences who recognize the value of standing up for what is right, even in the face of danger. Tyr's confrontation with Fenr is more than just a story about a god losing his hand to a wolf. It's about the triumph of courage over fear, duty over selfishness, and justice over chaos. The act of putting oneself in harm's way to protect others is something we still admire today. Tyr's actions inspire us to think about what we are willing to sacrifice for the greater good, and how we can draw on our own inner strength when faced with seemingly impossible challenges. Tyr's sacrifice to bind Fenr is a defining moment in Norse mythology, one that highlights the values of bravery, justice, and selflessness. While other gods may have taken the spotlight in later stories, Tyr's role as a protector and upholder of law makes him a true hero in the Norse pantheon. His legacy continues to inspire us to confront our own fears and challenges with the same unyielding courage. In Norse mythology, creation begins in chaos, the vast, empty void known as Ginnungagap, where fire from the realm of Muspelheim and ice from Niflheim collide to form the first being, Ymir. He was no ordinary being but a massive, primordial giant, embodying the untamed forces of the cosmos. From his creation, Ymir's story unfolds into one of both beauty and destruction, where his body becomes the foundation of the world. Welcome to a journey through this ancient myth as we explore how Ymir's life and death created the 9 worlds of Norse mythology and shaped the universe as we know it. Imagine the world before time existed, a vast nothingness, Ginnungagap, lying between 2 elemental realms. On one side, the fiery Muspelheim burns with heat and energy. On the other, the frozen wasteland of Niflheim sits, full of frost and ice. In this strange, infinite gap, sparks of fire met with the chill of ice, and from that meeting, Ymir emerged. This was the birth of the first giant, a being of tremendous size and power, the embodiment of the chaos and potential of the universe. But Ymir was not alone for long. From his sweat, new life formed. The race of frost giants, beings of immense strength who would later oppose the gods. This strange act of creation, born directly from Ymir's own body, already hints at the vital role his physical form would play in shaping the world. From the very beginning, Ymir's existence is tied to creation, even if he does not yet realize it. As Ymir lived, he was nourished by the great cow, Audhumla, who also emerged from the frozen void. The cow's milk sustained Ymir, while Audhumla herself found nourishment by licking the salty ice. This act revealed Buri, the ancestor of the gods, who later fathered Bor, and Bor would become the father of Odin, Vili, and Ve, the 3 gods destined to shape the fate of the world. It is here that the myth takes a dark and decisive turn. Odin, Vili, and Ve, sensing the potential to create order from the chaos of Ymir's existence, decide to kill the giant. It may seem brutal, but this act is the key moment in the creation of the world. Ymir, in his death, becomes the very fabric of the universe. His flesh becomes the earth, his bones the mountains, his blood the seas, his hair the trees, and his skull the sky. The gods even take Ymir's brains and scatter them across the sky, forming clouds. From the destruction of Ymir comes the structure of the cosmos, and from chaos comes order. But let's pause for a moment. Think about the sheer scale of this transformation. In Norse mythology, the world we live in isn't simply an object or a collection of natural elements. It's the body of a giant. Every mountain you climb, every ocean you sail across, every cloud in the sky is a piece of Ymir. His body is the earth beneath our feet, and his blood is the water we drink. It's a staggering image, one that illustrates how the physical world is deeply connected to the beings who created it. This idea of giants playing a role in creation is not unique to Norse mythology. Across cultures, giants have been portrayed as creators, shapers of landscapes, and embodiments of natural forces. Their massive size and strength often symbolize their ability to shape the world, sometimes as creators, other times as forces of chaos. In many myths, they represent the raw, untamed power of nature, forces that the gods must tame or destroy to bring about order. Take the story of the Greek Titan Atlas, for example. After the Titans were defeated by the Olympian gods, Atlas was punished by being forced to hold up the heavens. Though not a creator in the same sense as Ymir, Atlas is a giant who bears the weight of the cosmos on his shoulders, a symbol of the immense responsibility and power that giants often hold in mythology. In this way, giants are more than just large, destructive beings. They are the foundations of the universe itself. Returning to Ymir, his death leads not only to the creation of the physical world, but also to the birth of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology. The gods place Ymir's body in the center of the universe, and from it, they create the different realms. Asgard, the home of the gods. Midgard, the realm of humans. Jotunheim, the land of the giants, and several others, each with its own unique role in the cosmic order. The 9 worlds are connected by Yggdrasil, the world tree, another symbol of the interconnectedness of all things in Norse cosmology. This grand image of the universe, with Ymir's body at its heart, emphasizes how creation in Norse myth is a process of transformation, of turning chaos into cosmos. Yet, even as Ymir's body becomes the foundation of the universe, the story of giants and gods does not end with his death. The frost giants, Ymir's descendants, remain a powerful force in the world, constantly clashing with the gods. The creation of the world does not bring an end to chaos, but rather sets the stage for an ongoing battle between order and disorder, between the gods and the giants. This conflict is central to Norse mythology, culminating in Ragnarok, the final battle in which the world will once again be consumed by chaos. The story of Ymir is a reflection of this constant tension between creation and destruction, between order and chaos. His life begins in the chaotic void of Ginnungagap, and his death brings about the creation of the world. But even in death, Ymir's legacy lives on through the giants who continue to challenge the gods, and through the very earth, sea, and sky that form our world. This myth raises intriguing questions about the nature of creation and destruction. Does creation always require destruction, as it does in Ymir's case? Can chaos ever truly be tamed, or is it an essential part of the universe? And what is the role of giants in these myths? Are they simply forces of destruction, or are they also creators, shapers of worlds, and guardians of cosmic balance? Looking beyond Norse mythology, we see similar themes in other cultures. In Japanese mythology, for instance, the giant Susanoo, the storm god, plays a dual role as both a creator and a destroyer. His wild, uncontrollable nature leads to chaos, but he is also responsible for shaping parts of the world. In African mythology, giants are often seen as embodiments of nature itself, forces that shape the land and control the elements. These myths remind us that creation is rarely a simple, peaceful process. It often involves conflict, sacrifice, and transformation. Ymir's story, like these other myths, offers a powerful reflection on the complexity of creation. It's not just about building something new. It's about making sense of the chaos, finding order in the disorder, and understanding the balance between creation and destruction. And perhaps most importantly, it's about recognizing that the world we live in is shaped by forces far greater than ourselves, forces that are both beautiful and terrifying. As we bring this exploration of Ymir and the giants to a close, let's reflect on the lasting impact of these myths. They challenge us to think about the world in a different way, to see the natural landscape not just as a collection of physical objects, but as something deeply connected to the stories and beings that created it. In Norse mythology, the mountains, the seas, and the sky are all part of Ymir's body, a reminder that creation and destruction are intertwined, and that the world we live in is the result of a grand, cosmic sacrifice. Join me as we delve deep into the realms of Norse mythology and the Marvel Universe to uncover the fascinating secrets behind Sif, the golden-haired goddess and Thor's faithful partner. Sif may not appear in many of the myths or have the spotlight in Marvel Comics, but her role is integral, both as a symbol of fertility and as a goddess connected to the earth. Today, we'll explore her mythological significance, the intriguing tale of her golden hair, and her portrayal in modern Marvel adaptations. Sif's golden hair is one of her most recognizable features, but it symbolizes far more than physical beauty. In Norse mythology, her golden locks are often interpreted as a metaphor for fields of ripened wheat, linking her directly to the earth's fertility and harvest. This connection to the earth emphasizes her role as a goddess of life and abundance, a provider who nurtures the land and ensures prosperity. The growth and vitality that her hair symbolizes make her an embodiment of the cycles of nature. But there's a twist in Sif's story that gives her an even deeper connection to Asgardian myths. One of the most well-known legends involving Sif is when the mischievous trickster Loki cuts off all of her golden hair while she sleeps. Now Loki, being known for his pranks and troublemaking, likely saw this as just another one of his antics, but the consequences were severe. Thor, furious at what Loki had done to his wife, threatened to crush him unless he found a way to restore her hair. This is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Loki, desperate to avoid Thor's wrath, sought help from the master dwarven blacksmiths, the sons of Ivaldi, who not only crafted Sif's new golden hair, but also forged several other gifts for the gods. Among these gifts was Mjolnir, Thor's iconic hammer, which became one of the most powerful weapons in Norse mythology. In this way, Sif's story becomes pivotal not just to her own character, but to the entire pantheon of Norse gods. Without her, we might never have had the mighty Mjolnir, symbolizing Thor's power and protection over the realms. Sif's role as Thor's partner is also significant. Their marriage represents a balance of forces. Thor, the thunder god, represents the untamed, raw power of nature, while Sif, the earth goddess, represents growth, life, and sustenance. Together, they symbolize the interconnectedness of nature, where thunderstorms bring rain to nourish the earth, and in return, the earth provides life. Their union is not just one of love, but one of cosmic harmony, ensuring the continuation of life for both gods and humans alike. However, while Sif's appearances in ancient Norse myths are relatively limited, her character takes on new dimensions in modern adaptations, especially in the Marvel Universe. In the comics and movies, Sif is portrayed not just as Thor's wife, but as a fierce and independent warrior in her own right. She often fights alongside Thor, proving that she is more than capable of holding her own in battle. In Marvel, Sif embodies both physical prowess and unwavering loyalty. Her warrior spirit, combined with her golden-haired beauty, makes her a beloved character among fans. Interestingly, Sif's character in Marvel also emphasizes her adaptability and personal growth. She evolves from the background role she played in ancient mythology into a central figure who is as brave and fearless as the other warriors of Asgard. In one of her most dramatic moments in Marvel Comics, Sif battles the death goddess Persephone to save Thor and restore order to the universe. This act of courage and selflessness demonstrates that Sif is more than just Thor's love interest. She's a powerful force in her own right, willing to go to great lengths to protect those she cares about. And let's not forget her relationship with Loki in both mythology and comics. While the myth involving her hair shows Loki as her adversary, in the Marvel Universe, Loki and Sif's dynamic is more complicated. They share moments of conflict, but also moments of understanding. Sif often stands as a moral counterbalance to Loki's chaos, showing her wisdom and depth. Her interactions with Loki highlight her patience and insight, which are often overlooked in favor of her physical attributes. Sif's golden hair, her most famous trait, is a lasting symbol of her connection to the earth. But her story shows she's more than just a figure of beauty. In many ways, Sif is the heart of Asgard, representing fertility, growth, and the nurturing spirit that keeps the land and its people thriving. Her marriage to Thor is more than just a romantic partnership. It's a union of forces that sustain the balance of life. Even though Sif often plays a supporting role in Thor's stories, her influence is felt in subtle and profound ways. Without her, Thor's story would lack the richness and depth that comes from having a goddess who balances his strength with her nurturing energy. Her story demonstrates the power of endurance, loyalty, and inner strength, qualities that transcend the ages, from Norse mythological times to modern Marvel adaptations. Sif's importance in both mythology and comics reminds us that even the characters who don't always take center stage are crucial to the overall narrative. Whether it's through her healing powers in the ancient tales or her fierce combat skills in Marvel, Sif is an essential part of the Asgardian world and an inspiring figure in her own right. So, what do you think about Sif's role in mythology? Join me as I dive deep into the lore of Heimdall, the all-seeing guardian of Ragnarok. Together, let's uncover his secrets before the end of this video. In this journey, you will discover the remarkable Norse god known for his unparalleled senses and his critical role in the events of Ragnarok. Are you ready? Let's go! Heimdall's duty as the guardian of Asgard isn't just a walk in the park. It's a constant, vigilant task. Positioned at the Rainbow Bridge, Bifrost, he stands ready to protect the realm from giants and other foes who threaten the peace of the gods. You see, being a watchman isn't just about keeping an eye out. It's about embodying a sense of duty that requires unyielding dedication and bravery. Heimdall isn't merely a passive observer. He's a fierce warrior, prepared to defend Asgard at a moment's notice. Imagine the pressure he faces. The giants are relentless, and the fate of Asgard hangs in the balance. Each day, Heimdall scans the horizon, his heart heavy with the weight of his responsibilities. But let's take a moment to reflect on the loneliness of his role. Imagine standing alone, day and night, watching the skies and the realms for signs of danger. It's a solitary existence, filled with long hours and a constant sense of alertness. Despite this isolation, Heimdall embraces his duty with pride. He knows that without him, Asgard could easily fall into chaos, vulnerable to its enemies. His unwavering vigilance speaks volumes about his character. Even as Ragnarok looms on the horizon, he remains steadfast, a pillar of strength and loyalty amidst uncertainty. The gods depend on him, and he's more than willing to bear that burden. Now, let's talk about Heimdall's incredible senses. Legends say that he can see for hundreds of miles, and his hearing is so sharp that he can hear the grass grow and the wool on sheep's backs. These abilities are not mere tales. They underscore his essential role as a guardian. Imagine being able to detect the slightest movements or sounds that others can't perceive. This godly perception makes him the perfect sentinel, alert to even the smallest threat from afar. But his senses are not just gifts from the gods. They symbolize his relentless dedication to his duties. Every whisper of wind, every shift in the landscape, becomes a potential warning, and Heimdall takes his responsibilities seriously. Let's delve into Heimdall's origins, which are shrouded in mystery. Some myths suggest he's the son of 9 giantesses, each representing different aspects of nature. Others claim that he is a direct descendant of Odin, the All-Father. This complex lineage adds to his intrigue and highlights the idea that Heimdall embodies the connection between the divine and the natural world. His birth from 9 mothers also symbolizes his unique nature, suggesting a multifaceted identity that grants him extraordinary abilities. Each mother represents a different power, merging to create a guardian unlike any other. As we approach the epic events of Ragnarok, Heimdall's role becomes even more pivotal. He is the one who uncovers Loki's cunning plans to bring ruin upon the gods. Loki, known for his trickery and deceit, poses a significant threat. Heimdall's keen senses alert him to Loki's schemes, giving the gods a chance to react. However, Heimdall's efforts, while admirable, ultimately can't prevent the impending disaster. His actions do buy the gods some precious time, allowing them to prepare for the chaos that is about to unfold. This aspect of Heimdall's story emphasizes the theme of vigilance in the face of inevitable change. Even though he cannot stop the tide of fate, his awareness is crucial in navigating the challenges ahead. Now, let's not forget the Gjallarhorn, a symbol of Heimdall's power and the harbinger of Ragnarok. The sound of this horn is a haunting signal, ringing out to announce that the end times have arrived. When Heimdall blows the Gjallarhorn, its deep, echoing tones resonate across the realms, a call to arms for the gods. Picture the scene. As the horn's mournful notes fill the air, the gods rally to Heimdall's side, preparing for the ultimate confrontation with their enemies. It's a moment thick with drama and tension, where every being in Asgard knows that the world is about to change forever. As chaos erupts and the forces of darkness descend upon Asgard, Heimdall faces Loki in a legendary duel. This clash of titans is nothing short of epic, each exchanging powerful blows, embodying the struggle between order and chaos. The tension escalates, with the fate of the gods hanging in the balance. Despite his bravery, the battle is fierce, and both warriors fight with unmatched ferocity. Heimdall is a force to be reckoned with, but Loki is cunning and resourceful. As they clash, it's clear that the outcome is uncertain. The struggle represents not just a physical battle, but a deeper conflict between loyalty and betrayal. In the end, it's Heimdall who emerges victorious, a testament to his strength and determination. But victory comes at a terrible cost. The world is ending, and the gods fall one by one. Even as the destruction unfolds, Heimdall stands tall, a symbol of unwavering loyalty amidst chaos. Heimdall's role in Norse mythology transcends that of a mere guardian. He embodies the spirit of resilience. Even as the world crumbles around him, he remains vigilant, dedicated to his purpose. He's a reminder that courage and loyalty can shine even in the darkest of times. His legacy is one of hope, a beacon for those who face their own challenges. So, what does Heimdall's story teach us? It reminds us of the importance of vigilance and the need to protect what we hold dear. In our own lives, we may not have the ability to see for miles or hear the faintest whisper, but we can embody Heimdall's spirit by standing guard over our loved ones, our beliefs, and our values. What are your thoughts on Heimdall?
Join me as we dive deep into the ancient tales of Norse mythology and uncover the truth about one of the most powerful and complex figures in Asgard, Frigg, the Queen of the Gods. Often overshadowed by her husband Odin and her son Balder, Frigg is a figure of wisdom, foresight, and immense power. But who is she really, and why is her role so essential in the fabric of Asgard? Let's explore her story and find out what makes Frigg not just a queen but a force of destiny itself. Frigg, the Queen of Asgard, is a name that doesn't always come to mind immediately when discussing Norse mythology. But don't let that fool you. Frigg is one of the most important deities in the Norse pantheon. As the wife of Odin and the mother of Balder, she stands at the heart of Asgard, a beacon of wisdom, foresight, and strength. Many see her as just Odin's wife, but there's much more to her than meets the eye. Today we'll uncover the layers of her character, her power, and the vital role she plays in Norse mythology. Frigg's powers are not flashy, but they are formidable. She possesses the gift of foresight, an ability so potent that she knows the fate of all gods and mortals, yet she rarely shares this knowledge. Why? Because, as the goddess of fate, she understands the delicate balance that must be maintained in the cosmic order. Frigg's foresight is a central aspect of her identity, and it's one that connects her to the underlying threads of destiny that govern both the 9 realms and the lives of gods and mortals. But that's not all. Frigg is also deeply skilled in the magic of Sayr, a form of sorcery linked to prophecy and fate. This makes her one of the most powerful magic users in Norse mythology. It's believed that she can shape the destinies of others, even altering the outcomes of future events. While she doesn't wield weapons like the warriors of Asgard, her wisdom and magic are her greatest strengths. Frigg is not only a figure of power, but also of protection. As the goddess associated with marriage, motherhood, and family, she safeguards the bonds that unite households. Her influence extends to protecting homes and marriages, ensuring the sanctity of these relationships across the realms. She's a guardian of domestic life, nurturing the ties that hold Asgard's royal family together. Her role as protector is most famously demonstrated in her efforts to shield her beloved son, Balder, from his foretold death. After learning of his impending doom through her foresight, Frigg took extraordinary measures to protect him. She traveled to every living thing in the 9 realms, asking each to vow not to harm Balder. Everything agreed except for one mistletoe, which was overlooked. It was this small, seemingly harmless plant that would later be Balder's undoing. The story of Balder's death is perhaps the most emotional and tragic in all of Norse mythology, and it centers around Frigg's deep love for her son. Despite all her efforts, fate would not be denied. The trickster god Loki found the mistletoe and fashioned it into a weapon, which he used to orchestrate Balder's death. The grief that Frigg experienced after losing her son is beyond measure. Even as she knew it was inevitable, her sorrow was immense. Her pain reflects the depths of her maternal instinct. She was not just a queen or a goddess, but a mother, and her suffering reminds us of the raw human emotions that even the gods endure. Frigg's attempts to resurrect Balder are equally heartbreaking. She sent messengers to Hel, the realm of the dead, begging for Balder's return. Hel agreed, but on one condition: if every living thing in the 9 realms mourned for Balder, he would be allowed to return to the land of the living. And so it was. Everything mourned save for one figure in disguise, again Loki. This thwarted her hopes, showing once more how even the most powerful forces can be outwitted by the trickery of fate. Frigg's marriage to Odin is another fascinating aspect of her character. While Odin is often depicted as the all-knowing, all-powerful ruler, Frigg is no mere consort. In many myths, she's shown as his equal, if not his superior in some ways. It's said that Frigg has access to knowledge even Odin does not, particularly when it comes to matters of fate. There are moments when her silence speaks volumes. Her choice not to reveal certain truths about the future, the weight of her wisdom and restraint. She and Odin represent the balance of power between foresight and action, wisdom and might. Their relationship is also a portrayal of the complexities of love and partnership. Frigg, while supportive of Odin, is also independent and powerful in her own right. Their bond represents both love and respect, as well as the occasional conflict between them over their different approaches to the same end, maintaining balance in the cosmos. Frigg's role in Norse mythology can be compared to other divine mother figures across cultures. In Greek mythology, we have Hera, the queen of the gods and protector of marriage, much like Frigg. However, where Hera is often vengeful and focused on maintaining her status, Frigg is more compassionate and wise, using her powers for the greater good. In Egyptian mythology, Isis, the mother of Horus, shares Frigg's deep maternal love and protective instincts. Both Frigg and Isis tried to protect their sons from harm, though ultimately faced the reality of their fates. These comparisons highlight the universal archetype of the Divine Mother, a figure of protection, wisdom, and deep emotional strength. So who is Frigg truly? She's more than just the wife of Odin, more than a queen sitting quietly on the throne of Asgard. She is a goddess of immense power, one who sees the threads of fate, who protects the sanctity of family and marriage, and who suffers the same profound grief that any mother might. Frigg's strength is not just in her magic or foresight, but in her resilience, her wisdom, and her capacity to endure, even in the face of inevitable tragedy. Frigg's role as the heart of Asgard cannot be overstated, and her story deserves to be told more often. So the next time we think of the great gods of Norse mythology, let's not forget Frigg.
Join me as I dive into the scandalous love life of Zeus and see if we can uncover all his wild affairs. Zeus, the king of gods in Greek mythology, is often depicted as a powerful, authoritative figure, ruling over Mount Olympus with an iron fist. But behind the scenes, his love life is a tangled web of complicated relationships, illicit affairs, and even divine scandals. For Zeus, love and lust were often inseparable from power, and his pursuit of both would lead to some of the most legendary stories in Greek mythology. When it comes to Zeus's love life, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. The ancient Greeks were known for their vivid storytelling, and myths about Zeus's romantic conquests have been passed down for centuries. Some say his affairs were acts of passion. Others claim they were strategic maneuvers. But one thing is certain. Zeus's affairs have left a lasting impact on Greek mythology, shaping the very fabric of the myths and legends we know today. Zeus's reputation as a ladies' man has led to many controversies among gods and mortals alike. His numerous affairs caused tension within the Olympian community, often pitting goddesses and nymphs against each other in a desperate battle for his attention. But the chaos wasn't confined to Olympus alone. His relationships with mortal women often brought devastating consequences, not only for the women themselves, but for entire kingdoms. As we delve deeper into Zeus's love life, we'll explore the complex web of relationships that have defined his reign as king of the gods. From the jealous wrath of Hera, who sought revenge against her unfaithful husband and his many lovers, to the fleeting romances with mortal women that gave birth to heroic figures, Zeus's love life is a rich tapestry of drama, passion, and deceit. Let's begin with Europa, one of Zeus's most famous conquests. Europa was a beautiful Phoenician princess, and Zeus, taken by her beauty, transformed himself into a majestic white bull. In this form, he lured Europa onto his back and whisked her away to the island of Crete. From their union, Europa bore 3 sons, including Minos, who would later become the king of Crete and a judge of the dead in the underworld. This tale has been retold countless times, but what's often overlooked is the impact this affair had on his already strained marriage to Hera. Zeus's wife, Hera, was the goddess of marriage, and she did not take kindly to her husband's infidelities. Her jealousy is legendary, and her vengeance often fell not on Zeus, but on the women he seduced, and sometimes their children. For example, Hera's wrath would eventually come to haunt Europa's descendants. King Minos, despite his divine heritage, would face the curse of a monstrous offspring, the Minotaur, a reminder of the divine and mortal entanglements that Zeus so often instigated. Next, we move to Zeus's affair with Leda, the wife of King Tyndareus of Sparta. This particular romance resulted in one of the most significant events in Greek mythology, the birth of Helen of Troy. Disguised as a swan, Zeus seduced Leda, and from their union, Helen was born. Helen's beauty was said to be unparalleled, so much so that her abduction would spark the infamous Trojan War, a conflict that lasted a decade and reshaped the Greek world. Leda's story is a testament to Zeus's reckless disregard for mortal lives and kingdoms, as his desires frequently disrupted the natural order. Another one of Zeus's most scandalous affairs is his relationship with his niece, Leto. This forbidden romance produced two of the most important gods in the Greek pantheon, Apollo and Artemis. However, Leto's pregnancy wasn't easy. Hera, enraged by her husband's betrayal, cursed Leto, forbidding any land to give her shelter during childbirth. After wandering in exile, Leto eventually found refuge on the floating island of Delos, where she gave birth to her divine children. The story of Leto highlights the lengths to which Hera would go to punish Zeus's lovers and protect her place as queen of the gods. But Hera's jealousy didn't always succeed in preventing Zeus's affairs. His affair with Io, a mortal priestess of Hera, led to a particularly tragic outcome. In an attempt to hide Io from Hera's wrath, Zeus transformed her into a cow. However, Hera wasn't fooled, and she sent a gadfly to torment Io, driving her mad and forcing her to wander the earth. Io's tale is one of suffering and divine punishment, illustrating the collateral damage caused by Zeus's unrelenting desires. Zeus's affairs weren't always limited to women, either. One of his most infamous liaisons was with the Trojan prince Ganymede, whom Zeus abducted and brought to Mount Olympus to serve as his cupbearer. Ganymede's beauty captivated Zeus, and their relationship was one of the rare instances of male companionship in Greek mythology. The story of Ganymede adds another layer to Zeus's complex love life, showcasing the god's unpredictable and often controversial romantic pursuits. As we reflect on the many conquests and romantic entanglements that have defined Zeus's reign, we're reminded that even the most powerful gods were not immune to the whims of the heart. Zeus, in particular, embodied the duality of divine power and human frailty. His love life, filled with passion and betrayal, was a constant source of conflict, not just for him, but for all of Olympus. In the end, Zeus's affairs and the drama they generated serve as a reflection of human relationships, albeit on a divine scale. They reveal much about the values, fears, and desires of the ancient Greeks. Zeus's behavior may have been scandalous, but it also made him relatable, a god who, despite his immense power, struggled with the same emotions as mortals. Atlas, the strongest of the Titans, was condemned to an eternity of holding up the sky. But was his punishment truly deserved, or was it an overreaction by Zeus? In today's video, we're diving deep into the myth of Atlas to uncover whether the punishment fit the crime, or if there's more to the story than meets the eye. Greek mythology is filled with powerful gods, rebellious titans, and epic punishments. One of the most famous punishments is the story of Atlas. As a leader of the Titans in their battle against Zeus and the Olympians, Atlas faced a fate that would change his life forever. After the Titans were defeated in the Titanomachy, the great war between the old gods and the new, Zeus sentenced Atlas to hold the weight of the heavens on his shoulders for all eternity. But was this punishment really justified, or was Atlas simply a victim of Zeus' wrath? To understand Atlas' fate, we have to go back to the beginning. The Titanomachy was an all-out war between the Titans, led by Cronus, and the Olympians, led by Zeus. Atlas wasn't just any Titan. He was a commander, a symbol of strength, and a close ally of Cronus. In many versions of the myth, he's depicted as one of the most dedicated fighters against the Olympian gods, standing tall and fearless in the face of Zeus' rebellion. When the Olympians won the war, Zeus had a choice: forgive or punish. For most Titans, the punishment was imprisonment in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld. But for Atlas, Zeus had something far more personal in mind. Instead of being thrown into Tartarus like his fellow Titans, Atlas was given a unique and symbolic punishment: holding up the heavens on his shoulders. In some interpretations, this means holding up the sky to separate it from the earth. It's a burden that represents not just physical strength, but also immense responsibility. But why Atlas? Many myths suggest that Atlas' punishment was meant to be a warning, a reminder to anyone who dared to defy Zeus. Atlas wasn't just any Titan. He was one of the key players in the war, and by making him bear the weight of the heavens, Zeus asserted his dominance over both the Titans and the universe itself. Now, let's dive into the real question. Did Atlas deserve this punishment? On one hand, he did actively fight against the Olympians and sought to keep the Titans in power. But compared to other punishments, was this fate too harsh? Other Titans, like Cronus, were simply imprisoned in Tartarus. Prometheus, another famous Titan, suffered daily torment, but even his punishment eventually ended. In contrast, Atlas' punishment was never-ending. It wasn't just painful, it was isolating. Condemned to hold up the sky for all eternity, Atlas was separated from both the earth below and the gods above. Some scholars believe that this punishment was symbolic of more than just rebellion. Atlas, in a way, represented the burden of leadership and responsibility. His fate could be interpreted as Zeus' way of forcing Atlas to bear the weight of the world, literally and figuratively, for his action. Did you know that the ancient Egyptians worshipped a pantheon of gods so powerful that their influence shaped the very foundation of one of history's greatest civilizations? From the sun's fiery rays to the silent passage of time, the 12 gods of ancient Egypt held dominion over all aspects of life and death. Today, we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries and stories behind these deities that guided the hearts and minds of the ancient Egyptians. In the heart of the ancient Nile Valley, a civilization arose that would stand the test of time. Central to their beliefs was a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each embodying different aspects of existence. The ancient Egyptians didn't worship, they lived by their laws, shaped their society around their myths, and looked to them for guidance in both life and death. Today, we delve into the stories of these 12 gods, exploring their origins, powers, and the roles they played in the cosmic drama that governed the universe. Our journey begins with the primordial gods, those who existed before time itself. The first is Nun, the god of the primordial waters. In the beginning, there was nothing but chaos, an endless sea known as Nun. From these waters emerged Adam, the self-created god, who stood upon the primeval mound, symbolizing the first land. From Adam's own essence came the first divine pair, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. This trinity, Nun, Adam, Shu, and Tefnut, represents the creation of order from chaos, the first breath of life, and the essential elements that sustain the world. As the story unfolds, Shu and Tefnut give birth to two more powerful deities, Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. Geb and Nut's love was so intense that they were locked in an eternal embrace, preventing the creation of life. Adam, seeing the need for balance, commanded Shu to separate them. With great strength, Shu lifted Nut high into the heavens, creating the sky, while Geb remained below as the earth. This act not only created the physical world, but also set the stage for the ongoing cycle of life and death. Nut became the arch of the sky, her body adorned with stars, while Geb lay beneath, the earth from which all life springs. At the heart of Egyptian mythology stands Ra, the sun god, and the most important of all deities. Ra is the creator of life, the one who sails across the sky in his solar bark, bringing light to the world each day. As the ruler of all gods, Ra's journey through the sky represents the daily cycle of life and death. During the day, he travels from east to west, providing warmth and light. But as night falls, Ra descends into the underworld, where he must confront the forces of chaos before rising again at dawn. The sun's daily journey symbolizes the eternal struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness, life and death. Among the most compelling stories in Egyptian mythology is the tale of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Osiris was the beloved king of Egypt, ruling with his queen, Isis. But his brother Set, driven by envy, plotted his downfall. In a dramatic betrayal, Set killed Osiris, dismembering his body and scattering it across the land. Devastated, Isis embarked on a quest to find and reassemble her husband's body. With the help of her sister Nephthys and the wisdom of Thoth, the god of knowledge, Isis succeeded in restoring Osiris, who then became the lord of the underworld. Osiris's death and resurrection symbolize the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a theme central to Egyptian belief. His son, Horus, avenged his father's death, battling Set and restoring order to the kingdom. Horus, the falcon-headed god, became the symbol of kingship and protection, embodying the divine power of the pharaohs. Alongside these major deities were others who played crucial roles in maintaining balance and order in the universe. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, was the protector of the dead and the guide of souls in the afterlife. He oversaw the embalming process and ensured that the dead were properly prepared for their journey to the underworld. Batet, the lioness-headed goddess, was a protector of home and family, embodying both the nurturing and fierce aspects of motherhood. Thoth, the ibis-headed god, was the divine scribe, the keeper of knowledge, and the mediator between gods and humans. His wisdom and understanding of the universe made him a key figure in maintaining the cosmic order. Egyptian mythology also tells of the constant battle between the forces of chaos and order. Set, the god of chaos, desert, and storms, represents the threat to overthrow the balance of the universe. His eternal conflict with Horus, the god of kingship and protection, is a reminder of the delicate balance that must be maintained. On the other side stands Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and harmony. Ma'at's principles govern the actions of both gods and humans, ensuring that order prevails over chaos. Her feather is used in the weighing of the heart ceremony, determining the fate of souls in the afterlife. As we weave through the intricate stories of these 12 gods, a picture emerges of a complex and interconnected belief system. Each god and goddess holds a unique role, yet they all work together to maintain the delicate balance that governs the universe. The ancient Egyptians saw their gods not just as distant, powerful beings, but as integral parts of their daily lives. From the rising of the sun to the flooding of the Nile, from the birth of a child to the passing of a loved one, the gods were always present, guiding and protecting the people of Egypt. The legacy of these 12 gods lives on, not just in the stories and monuments they left behind, but in the very fabric of Egyptian culture. Their myths continue to inspire and fascinate, offering insights into a civilization that, despite the passage of millennia, remains one of the most intriguing and influential in human history. The gods of ancient Egypt represent the eternal quest for understanding the mysteries of life, death, and the universe, a quest that continues to captivate us to this day. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of ancient Egyptian mythology. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the myths and legends that shaped our world. What other ancient civilizations would you like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments below. Join me as I dive deep into the ancient Egyptian afterlife beliefs and try to understand the weighing of the heart ceremony like never before. Did you know that ancient Egyptians believed in a journey through the underworld that would determine their eternal fate? This journey was filled with dangers, but at the heart of it all was the pivotal moment when the deceased's heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. What did this mean for the soul's future, and how did it shape Egyptian culture? In this video, you'll explore the fascinating beliefs surrounding the afterlife in ancient Egypt, focusing specifically on the duat and the weighing of the heart ceremony. The Egyptians had a complex view of the afterlife, one that intricately connected their spiritual beliefs with everyday life. They believed that the way one lived their life on earth would directly influence their journey through the duat, a mystical realm of the dead. At the center of these beliefs was a ceremony that would either grant the deceased eternal life or condemn them to non-existence: the weighing of the heart. The challenge for ancient Egyptians didn't end with death. It was just beginning. The journey through the afterlife was filled with trials, and the fate of every soul rested on how well they had lived in accordance with Ma'at, the principle of truth, balance, and order. To the Egyptians, the afterlife was not a place you simply arrived at. It had to be earned. They believed that the soul would face several obstacles, including demonic creatures, perilous waters, and complex mazes within the do it. Each step of the journey required not just spiritual strength, but a pure heart. This is where their actions in life became crucial. Every lie, every misdeed could weigh their heart down when it was finally placed on the scales in front of the gods. The Egyptians understood life as a preparation for death. Tombs were meticulously constructed to house the body and provide for the Ka and Ba, aspects of the soul that would persist beyond death. They filled these tombs with objects and food to sustain the deceased in the afterlife. But no matter how well the tomb was stocked or how carefully the body was mummified, the true test lay ahead. Let's dive deeper into the do-it, the underworld that every Egyptian soul had to traverse. This mystical realm was not just a simple path to the afterlife. It was a landscape of challenges. Here, gods, spirits, and even terrifying creatures like serpents and demons awaited the souls of the deceased. The Egyptians believed that this journey was treacherous, filled with pitfalls and hazards that could end one's soul if they weren't prepared. To protect themselves, the deceased would carry spells from the Book of the Dead, a collection of magical texts intended to guide and protect them. At the heart of this journey, however, was the weighing of the heart ceremony. This was the moment of ultimate judgment, where the heart of the deceased was weighed on the scales of justice by the god Anubis, who presided over the ceremony. The Egyptians believed that the heart contained the sum of a person's deeds, memories, and character. It was weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and balance. If the heart was lighter or balanced with the feather, the individual would be granted passage into the afterlife, to live forever in peace. But if the heart was heavier, weighed down by sin and dishonesty, a terrifying fate awaited them. The weighing of the heart was a dramatic moment. Anubis, with the scales in hand, would place the deceased's heart on one side and the feather of Maat on the other. It's important to understand that in Egyptian culture, the heart was seen as the seat of the soul and morality. Unlike other ancient civilizations that considered the brain as central, the Egyptians believed the heart contained a person's thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Standing nearby was the goddess Ammit, a fearsome creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. If the heart weighed heavier than the feather, it was immediately devoured by Ammit. This meant the soul was condemned to eternal destruction, essentially erased from existence, an idea more frightening than hell for the Egyptians, as they deeply believed in the continuation of life after death. For those whose hearts were light and balanced, the rewards were eternal. The soul would be led by the god Horus to Osiris, the ruler of the underworld, to live a peaceful afterlife in the field of reeds, an idealized version of life on earth. The Egyptians envisioned this realm as a place of abundance and tranquility, free from suffering. The ancient Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife were complex and profound. The weighing of the heart ceremony was a crucial moment, determining whether a soul would be granted eternal life or obliterated by Ammit. This ceremony, with its emphasis on moral integrity, reflected the values of Egyptian society and reinforced the idea that life and afterlife were inextricably linked. To them, death was not an end, but a passage to something greater, provided one lived in accordance with Maat. What are your thoughts on the weighing of the heart ceremony? Could you imagine living a life where every action you take is thought of as being weighed after death? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into Egyptian mythology, don't forget to check out my other videos on this fascinating civilization. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing stories from the ancient world. Ancient Egypt, a land of wonder, mystery, and awe, was deeply rooted in rituals that connected them to their gods, the afterlife, and the cosmic order. These rituals were not just religious practices, but the lifeblood of their society. They ensured the balance of the universe, known as Maat, which they believed sustained both the living and the dead. Today, we uncover some of the most unbelievable ancient rituals of this mysterious civilization. One of the most iconic of these rituals was the opening of the mouth ceremony, a powerful funerary rite. It was believed that when someone passed from this world, they required the ability to eat, speak, and breathe in the afterlife. Through symbolic gestures, the priest, often a family member, would open the mouth of the deceased by touching it with a ceremonial tool. This allowed the soul to live on, ensuring a comfortable and eternal existence beyond the grave. But the afterlife wasn't guaranteed without the weighing of the heart ritual, perhaps one of the most crucial judgments in Egyptian belief. After death, the heart, which Egyptians believed held all of one's thoughts and deeds, was weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth. If the heart was heavy with sin, the soul would be devoured by fearsome demon Amit, and that person would cease to exist. However, a light heart meant purity, granting the deceased passage into the eternal fields of paradise. Rituals weren't reserved just for the afterlife, though. The ancient Egyptians practiced Heka, magic, in their daily lives. Whether it was for protection, healing, or even influencing events, magic played a central role. Through chants, spells, and offerings, they believed they could manipulate the natural and supernatural worlds to their benefit. One particularly grand event was the Sed Festival, held after a pharaoh had ruled for 30 years. This ritual was a combination of physical tests and sacred ceremonies that re-energized the king, symbolizing his continued strength and divine right to rule. The festival included a reenactment of his coronation and even a ceremonial race, demonstrating his vitality and connection to the gods. The beautiful Feast of the Valley was another event where the Egyptians connected with both their gods and their deceased ancestors. The people would sail from the bustling city of Thebes to the necropolis in the west, where they made offerings of food, drink, and prayers at the tombs of their loved ones. This ritual strengthened the bond between the living and the dead, ensuring that the deceased were remembered and cared for in the afterlife. Temples, too, were the center of daily temple rituals, conducted by priests to maintain the order of the universe. Every day, offerings of food, incense, and prayers were given to the gods, asking for their favor, protection, and guidance. These rituals weren't just for the gods. They maintained Egypt's prosperity and kept the forces of chaos at bay. Perhaps one of the most fascinating rituals was the Festival of Opet, a grand procession celebrating the renewal of the pharaoh's divine right to rule. The statue of Ammonius, the chief god of Thebes, would be carried from the Karnak temple to the Luxor temple, symbolizing the union between the king and the divine. The streets were filled with music, dancing, and offerings in what was one of the most joyous celebrations in ancient Egypt. And for those seeking a bountiful harvest, there was the Feast of Min, dedicated to the god of fertility and reproduction. The pharaoh or priest would perform symbolic rituals, such as plowing the earth, ensuring that Egypt would be blessed with abundant crops and renewed life. The meticulous process of mummification itself was an elaborate ritual that prepared the body for the journey to the afterlife. Priests would perform sacred rites to cleanse, embalm, and wrap the body in fine linen, placing protective amulets between the layers to safeguard the soul. Mummification was not just about preserving the body. It was a magical process that ensured the deceased could navigate the afterlife's perils. These rituals, whether daily, funerary, or festival, reflect the Egyptians' deep belief in maintaining harmony with their gods and preparing for a seamless transition into the afterlife. From the grand New Year festival of Weepa which celebrated the Nile's inundation and the renewal of the land, to the intimate funerary banquets, where families dined with their dead, Egypt's culture was steeped in symbolism and reverence for the divine. To this day, these ancient rituals continue to fascinate and mystify us, offering a glimpse into the extraordinary spiritual world of one of history's greatest civilizations. The grandeur and magic of Egypt live on, not only in its monuments, but in its rituals that have left an indelible mark on the annals of history. If you've enjoyed this dive into ancient Egypt's mysterious rituals, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on which ritual fascinated you the most. Let's keep the mystery alive. Join me as I dive into the mysteries of ancient Egyptian magic and try to unlock its most powerful spells and sorcery. From the mystical rites that guided the journey to the afterlife to the incantations that summoned the protection of powerful deities, ancient Egyptian magic holds secrets that continue to fascinate and intrigue us today. In this video, you'll discover the fascinating realm of ancient Egyptian magic, including the spells, sorcery, and mysticism that shaped their beliefs and practices. Despite its significance, much of Egyptian magic remains a mystery to modern audiences. Many of us are familiar with the iconic pyramids, mummies, and hieroglyphics, but the underlying magical practices that govern their daily lives are often overlooked. To truly understand ancient Egyptian culture, we need to delve deeper into their mystical worldview. Egyptian magic was a complex system that wove together mythology, astrology, and spiritual practices to create a rich tapestry of rituals and spells. By exploring this mystical realm, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity and creativity of the ancient Egyptians. But how can we unlock these secrets and understand their true essence? One way is to examine the various forms of magical texts, such as the pyramid texts, coffin texts, and the Book of the Dead. These texts weren't just religious manuscripts. They were powerful magical tools. For instance, the pyramid texts contain some of the oldest known religious spells, which were etched into the walls of royal tombs to ensure the pharaoh's protection in the afterlife. Spells from the pyramid texts were meant to guide the soul through the underworld, warding off evil forces and ensuring a peaceful transition into eternity. Another key source of ancient Egyptian magic is the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers written on papyrus and buried with the deceased to help them navigate the afterlife. Within this book, you'll find spells for protection, guidance, and empowerment, such as the famous weighing of the heart spell, where the heart feather of truth to determine their fate in the afterlife. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter paradise. If heavier, it would be devoured by the monstrous goddess Ammit. Let's not forget the priests and priestesses who played a vital role in performing these magical rituals. Serving as intermediaries between the human and divine realms, these individuals were skilled in the arts of magic and astrology. They used specialized tools like wands, amulets, and statues to channel divine power. The hieroglyphic carvings on these tools were believed to hold magical power, granting the wearer or the person they were used on protection, health, and prosperity. At the heart of Egyptian magic lay a deep reverence for the gods and goddesses, who were believed to possess supernatural powers. Egyptian magic wasn't just about casting spells. It was about invoking the favor of the gods to manipulate the forces of nature and reality itself. The Egyptians developed an elaborate pantheon of deities, each with their own distinct personality and sphere of influence. For instance, Isis, one of the most beloved and powerful goddesses, was associated with magic, healing, and protection. She was often invoked in spells meant to safeguard loved ones or restore health. Isis herself was a master of spells, once using magic to learn the secret name of the sun god Are, which gave her immense power. Another example is Anubis, the god of mummification and the afterlife, who was often called upon in funerary rites to guide the souls of the dead. His presence was key to ensuring a smooth passage into the afterlife, with spells and prayers invoking his guidance to protect the deceased from the dangers of the underworld. Rituals, too, were central to Egyptian magic. These rituals often involved a combination of spoken spells, symbolic gestures, and offerings to the gods. For example, during the festival of Weepa Trempet, the Egyptian New Year, priests performed elaborate rituals to renew the powers of the pharaoh and ensure prosperity for the kingdom. Ritual tools like ceremonial masks, sistrums, musical instruments used in religious ceremonies, and incense burners were used to call forth the presence of deities and spirits, creating a sacred space for the magical rites to unfold. One particularly powerful and well-known magical ritual was the opening the mouth ceremony, which was performed during the mummification process. This ritual was believed to restore the senses of the dead so they could eat, drink. The process, including the use of sacred tools like the adze, a small instrument shaped like a crescent, to symbolically open the mouth and eyes of the deceased. The opening the mouth ritual was more than just a spiritual rite. It was a profound expression of the Egyptians' belief in the continuity of life after death. They understood that death was not the end, but merely a transition to a different existence, and the magic they performed was essential to ensure this transition went smoothly. It also demonstrated their belief in the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual worlds. Every action taken in this world had ripples in the afterlife. Another fascinating aspect of Egyptian magic is the use of amulets. The ankh, for example, symbolized life and was often placed on mummies to ensure a continuation of life in the afterlife. Amulets of scarab beetles were also used for protection, as they were believed to hold transformative powers. Just as the beetle could transform waste into nourishment, these amulets were thought to bring transformation and regeneration to the soul. The Egyptians also had spells for everyday needs, such as protection against illness, good harvests, or success in personal ventures. One such example is the Sipi of Horus, a type of protective charm that depicted the child god Horus standing on crocodiles while holding dangerous animals. It was meant to protect against bites from venomous creatures and was often placed in homes or temples as a form of spiritual protection. Our journey into the mysteries of ancient Egyptian magic, mythology, and spiritual practices. Egyptian magic wasn't just about casting spells. It was an entire worldview that connected the physical and spiritual worlds. From the divine power of gods like Isis and Anubis to the intricate spells contained in texts like the Book of the Dead, ancient Egyptian magic was central to how they understood life, death, and the cosmos. By exploring the magical texts, rituals, and deities of ancient Egypt, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their ingenuity, creativity, and profound reverence for the mysteries of life and death. Even today, their magical practices continue to intrigue enthusiasts and scholars alike, leaving us to wonder what other secrets might still be hidden in the sands of time. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient magic, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos on mystical traditions from around the world. Ancient Egypt, a land of wonder, mystery, and awe, was deeply rooted in rituals that connected them to their gods, the afterlife, and the cosmic order. These rituals were not just religious practices, but the lifeblood of their society. They ensured the balance of the universe, known as Ma'at, which they believed sustained both the living and the dead. Today, we uncover some of the most unbelievable ancient rituals of this mysterious civilization. One of the most iconic of these rituals was the opening of the mouth ceremony, a powerful funerary rite. It was believed that when someone passed from this world, they required the ability to eat, speak, and breathe in the afterlife. Through symbolic gestures, the priest, often a family member, would open the mouth of the deceased by touching it with a ceremonial tool. This allowed the soul to live on, ensuring a comfortable and eternal existence beyond the grave. But the afterlife wasn't guaranteed without the weighing of the heart ritual, perhaps one of the most crucial judgments in Egyptian belief. After death, the heart, which Egyptians believed held all of one's thoughts and deeds, was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth. If the heart was heavy with sin, the soul would be devoured by the fearsome demon Ammit, and that person would cease to exist. However, a light heart meant purity, granting the deceased passage. Ancient Egyptians practiced Heka, magic, in their daily lives. Whether it was for protection, healing, or even influencing events, magic played a central role. Through chants, spells, and offerings, they believed they could manipulate the natural and supernatural worlds to their benefit. One particularly grand event was the Sed Festival, held after a pharaoh had ruled for 30 years. This ritual was a combination of physical tests and sacred ceremonies that re-energized the king, symbolizing his continued strength and divine right to rule. The festival included a reenactment of his coronation and even a ceremonial race, demonstrating his vitality and connection to the gods. The beautiful Feast of the Valley was another event where the Egyptians connected with both their gods and their deceased ancestors. The people would sail from the bustling city of Thebes to the necropolis in the west, where they made offerings of food, drink, and prayers at the tombs of their loved ones. This ritual strengthened the bond between the living and the dead, ensuring that the deceased were remembered and cared for in the afterlife. Temples, too, were the center of daily temple rituals, conducted by priests to maintain the order of the universe. Every day, offerings of food, incense, and prayers were given to the gods, asking for their favor, protection, and guidance. These rituals weren't just for the gods. They maintained Egypt's prosperity and kept the forces of chaos at bay. Perhaps one of the most fascinating rituals was the Festival of Opet, a grand procession celebrating the renewal of the pharaoh's divine right to rule. The statue of Ammonius, the chief god of Thebes, would be carried from the Karnak temple to the Luxor temple, symbolizing the union between the king and the divine. The streets were filled with music, dancing, and offering those seeking a bountiful harvest. There was the Feast of Men, dedicated to the god of fertility and reproduction. The pharaoh or priest would perform symbolic rituals, such as plowing the earth, ensuring that Egypt would be blessed with abundant crops and renewed life. The meticulous process of mummification itself was an elaborate ritual that prepared the body for the journey to the afterlife. Priests would perform sacred rites to cleanse, embalm, and wrap the body in fine linen, placing protective amulets between the layers to safeguard the soul. Mummification was not just about preserving the body. It was a magical process that ensured the deceased could navigate the afterlife's perils. These rituals, whether daily, funerary, or festival, reflect the Egyptians' deep belief in maintaining harmony with their gods and preparing for a seamless transition into the afterlife. From the grand New Year festival of Weepatrempet, which celebrated the Nile's inundation and the renewal of the land, to the intimate funerary banquets, where families dined with their dead, Egypt's culture was steeped in symbolism and reverence for the divine. Continue to fascinate and mystify us, offering a glimpse into the extraordinary spiritual world of one of history's greatest civilizations. The grandeur and magic of Egypt live on, not only in its monuments, but in its rituals that have left an indelible mark on the annals of history. If you've enjoyed this dive into ancient Egypt's mysterious rituals, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on which ritual fascinated you the most. Let's keep the mystery alive. Join me as I dive into the mysteries of ancient Egyptian magic and try to unlock its most powerful spells and sorcery. From the mystical rites that guided the journey to the afterlife to the incantations that summoned the protection of powerful deities, ancient Egyptian magic holds secrets that continue to fascinate and intrigue us today. In this video, you'll discover the fascinating spells, sorcery, and mysticism that shaped their beliefs and practices. Despite its significance, much of Egyptian magic remains a mystery to modern audiences. Many of us are familiar with the iconic pyramids, mummies, and hieroglyphics, but the underlying magical practices that govern their daily lives are often overlooked. To truly understand ancient Egyptian culture, we need to delve deeper into their mystical worldview. Egyptian magic was a complex system that wove together mythology, astrology, and spiritual practices to create a rich tapestry of rituals and spells. By exploring this mystical realm, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity and creativity of the ancient Egyptians. But how can we unlock these secrets and understand their true essence? One way is to examine the various forms of magical texts, such as the pyramid texts, coffin texts, and the Book of the Dead. These texts weren't just religious manuscripts. They were powerful magical tools. For instance, the pyramid texts contain some of the oldest known religious spells, which were etched into the walls of royal tombs to ensure the pharaoh's protection in the afterlife. Spells from the pyramid texts were meant to guide the soul through the underworld, warding off evil forces and ensuring a peaceful transition into eternity. Another key source of ancient Egyptian magic is the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers written on papyrus and buried with the deceased to help them navigate the afterlife. Within this book, you'll find spells for protection, guidance, and empowerment, such as the famous weighing of the heart spell, where the deceased's heart is weighed against the feather of truth to determine their fate in the afterlife. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter paradise. If heavier, it would be devoured by the monstrous goddess Ammit. Let's not forget the priests and priestesses who played a vital role in performing these magical rituals. Serving as intermediaries between the human and divine realms, these individuals were skilled in the arts of magic and astrology. They used specialized tools like wands, amulets, and statues to channel divine power. The hieroglyphic carvings on these tools were believed to hold magical power, granting the wearer or the person they were used on protection, health, and prosperity. At the heart of Egyptian who were believed supernatural powers. Egyptian magic wasn't just about casting spells. It was about invoking the favor of the gods to manipulate the forces of nature and reality itself. The Egyptians developed an elaborate pantheon of deities, each with their own distinct personality and sphere of influence. For instance, Isis, one of the most beloved and powerful goddesses, was associated with magic, healing, and protection. She was often invoked in spells meant to safeguard loved ones or restore health. Isis herself was a master of spells, once using magic to learn the secret name of the sun god Are, which gave her immense power. Another example is Anubis, the god of mummification and the afterlife, who was often called upon in funerary rites to guide the souls of the dead. His presence was key to ensuring a smooth passage into the afterlife, with spells and prayers invoking his guidance to protect the deceased from the dangers of the underworld. Rituals, too, were central to Egyptian magic. These rituals often involved a combination of spoken spells, symbolic gestures, and offerings to the gods. For example, during the festival of Weepa the Egyptian New Year, priests performed elaborate rituals to renew the powers of the pharaoh and ensure prosperity for the kingdom. Ritual tools like ceremonial masks, sistrums, musical instruments used in religious ceremonies, and incense burners were used to call forth the presence of deities and spirits, creating a sacred space for the magical rites to unfold. One particularly powerful and well-known magical ritual was the opening the mouth ceremony, which was performed during the mummification process. This ritual was believed to restore the senses of the dead so they could eat, drink, and speak in the afterlife. The process involved intricate steps, including the use of sacred tools like the adze, a small instrument shaped like a crescent, to symbolically open the mouth and eyes of the deceased. The opening the mouth ritual was more than just a spiritual rite. It was a profound expression of the Egyptians' belief in the continuity of life after death. They understood that death was not the end, but merely a transition to a different existence, and the magic they performed was essential to ensure this transition went smoothly. It also demonstrated their belief in the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual worlds. Every action taken in this world had ripples in the afterlife. Another fascinating aspect of Egyptian magic is the use of amulets. The ankh, for example, symbolized life and was often placed on mummies to ensure a continuation of life in the afterlife. Amulets of scarab beetles were also used for protection, as they were believed to hold transformative powers. Just as the beetle could transform waste into nourishment, these amulets were thought to bring transformation and regeneration to the soul. The Egyptians also had spells for everyday needs, such as protection against illness, good harvests, or success in personal ventures. One such example is the Sipi of Horus, a type of protective charm that depicted the child god Horus standing on crocodiles while holding dangerous animals. It was meant to protect against bites from venomous creatures and was often placed in homes or temples as a form of spiritual protection. Our journey into the mysteries of ancient Egyptian magic has revealed a complex, multifaceted system that wove together mythology, astrology, and spiritual practices. Egyptian magic wasn't just about casting spells. It was an entire worldview that